Chapter 1363. As one of the top 3 clans among the 8 clans of the Sea Empire, the Imperial Mermaid clan had plenty of resources. There was absolutely no need to divide the Alliance's territorial waters. The man in blood-red armor had always been in charge of distributing territory to the clan members. He did not remember distributing territories near the Radiance Territorial Sea to any of his clansmen. Moreover, the Imperial Mermaid clan had recently relocated to the vicinity of the Freedom Federation's territorial waters, and the vast majority of their clansmen had already been recalled. There shouldn't be many clansmen left outside. Suddenly the blood-armored man Yu Ba thought of his third sister Yu Mang. Sharkmang had always been spoiled by Big Brother. This time, the mermaid said that it did not want to come back, and Big Brother agreed without even thinking about it. Back then, when the mermaid left the tribe, he did not allocate any territory to it. As the eldest princess of the Imperial Mermaid clan, the mermaid could go anywhere in the Imperial Mermaid clan's territory. Could it be that the mermaid Ray had chosen the sea region near the Radiance Federation as its territorial sea and had killed the Radiance Federation's people for some reason? Based on Tyrant Mermaid's understanding of Mermaid Mang would very likely do something like breaking the Huihai Treaty behind their backs in the face of great benefits. Seeing that the expression on Yu Ba's face was getting uglier and uglier, Yuao couldn't help but ask in a deep voice. "Second brother, if you think of anything, just say it. If Hui Yao is trying to put the blame on our Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids clan, then we, the 8 clans of the Ocean Empire, will definitely teach him a lesson." Yu Ba shook his head when he heard this. If Hui Yao was really trying to pin the blame on the Imperial Mermaid clan, even if many of the 8 clans of the Sea Monarch 8 clans had conflicts with the Imperial Mermaid clan, the Imperial Mermaid clan would not be able to do anything about it. Due to the prestige of the Sea tribe and the overall benefits, they would definitely help the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids clan. However, if the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids were really in the wrong first, the Radiance faction would have something to use against them. Then this matter would be difficult. The other 6 Sea Emperors who went with them were hard to say. The Sea Emperor of the Royal Ray clan was bound to take advantage of this opportunity to suppress the Royal Mermaids and Mermaids clan. Eventually Yu Ba told Yuao about his speculation. Hearing Yu Ba's words, Yuao's expression changed drastically. Yuao knew that Yu Ba's words were probably the truth of this matter. However, Hui Yao was a little too domineering. Was there a need to make such a big fuss over the deaths of just a few ordinary people? It seemed like this trip to the Radiance sect was a little tricky. Just as Yuao was thinking about whether he should head to the Radiance sect personally, Yu Ba spoke up seriously. "Big brother, the Imperial Mermaid clan is going to relocate." At this point, Tyrant Shark glanced at Du Miao and continued. "The cooperation with the Freedom Federation can't be done without Big Brother. I'll go with the Radiance Federation." As one of the 3 major federations, the Radiance Federation still has to have the magnanimity that it should have. It won't be possible for all of them to make a move to make me stay. Hearing Mermaid Tyrant, Mermaid Ao nodded. Although Yuao was not willing to let Yu Ba take the risk, Yu Ba was undoubtedly the most suitable candidate. Yuao pointed at the blood-colored short-haired youth beside him and said, "Dong, you go with your second uncle. Remember to listen to your second uncle on the way." The crimson-haired youth said hurriedly, "Father, don't worry. If second uncle tells me to go east, I will definitely not go west." Hearing Yu Dong's words, Yuao nodded in satisfaction. However, Yu Ba's brows furrowed. Big Brother pushed Dong out at this time to increase Jiao Dong's prestige in the Imperial Mermaid clan by using this trip to the Radiance Federation. Big Brother wants to help Yu Dong up. It seems like Big Brother has not seen clearly what kind of person his son Yu Dong is. He is obedient and sensible in front of you, but he is a little tyrant when he goes out. Bring Yu Dong to the Radiance Federation and hope that Yu Dong will not cause trouble. Usually Yu Dong would face the members of the other 7 clans. If he caused trouble, where would the Imperial Mermaid clan's face be? However, the people on the Radiance Federation's side would not give face to the Imperial Mermaid clan. Since Big Brother had pushed Yu Dong out, Yu Ba had no other choice. It seemed like he had to remind Yu Dong along the way and let him control his temper. The decree that the Radiance Federation had just issued was not only targeted at the Imperial Mermaid clan but also the other 7 clans. At that moment, apart from the Imperial Mermaid clan, the other 7 clans each had their own thoughts. They were thinking about how to discuss the Radiant Sea Treaty when they went to the Radiance Federation. At present, everyone in the Radiance Federation was looking up at that giant golden tree that was slowly shrinking and finally disappearing. Lin Yuan's current mood was very complicated. On one hand, this battle between the majesties had made Lin Yuan understand how weak he was. Only beings under the celestial phenomenon level could have a deep understanding of the power of a celestial phenomenon. If a sacred source life form was not complete, there would always be a big gap between it and the current world's pinnacle experts. His sacred source life form, Sacred Sword-wielding Queen, was only a 3-star sacred source life form. It would still take some time for it to reach 4 stars. Lin Yuan really did not know when his sacred source life form, Sacred Sword-wielding Queen, would become a complete sacred source life form. Fortunately, Lin Yuan, who had hoarded so many Law Origin crystals, was very confident. However, the Law Origin crystals in Lin Yuan's hands would be used up sooner or later. Lin Yuan still needed to find more Law Origin crystals in the future. To a certain extent, this disturbance had deepened Lin Yuan's determination to develop the swamp world and deepen the cooperation with the big cities. On the other hand, the neutral voice that had just come from the giant tree had deepened Lin Yuan's sense of belonging to the Radiance Federation. After all, the mermaid light of the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids clan attacked Ji Hao, Lu Jie and Anha, the 3 disciples of His Holiness. However, Hui Yao did not mention His Holiness's disciple when dealing with this matter. He only said that they were people of the Radiance sect. This meant that the High Lords had always been silently protecting every living being in Hui Yao, including the ordinary people. This was Hui Yao's bearing. This was the integrity of His Majesty. This was a responsibility that could not be shouldered. It was also the Radiance Federation's promise to every Radiance Federation citizen. Such a radiance was worth protecting with all his might. The Mother of Bloodbath took a deep look at the thick sun chain that was still churning endlessly. He severed the connection between himself and the sun. Since they already knew each other, the Mother of Bloodbath was prepared to wait for its relatives to find it. After experiencing this storm and eating Lu Jie's delicacies, Lin Yuan had a good sleep in the mansion. After waking up, he acutely realized that the power of faith in his shrine had not increased much. Lin Yuan felt a little strange about this. He immediately logged onto Star Web and looked at its forums and posts. Lin Yuan immediately understood what was going on. There were 3 main points of discussion in Star Web's posts and forums. The first was the anomaly in yesterday's weather. The second was the dispute between the Radiance Federation and the Freedom Federation. The third was the shocking bet that would be carried out at the 10,000 Nations Conference in 2 years. The popularity of these 3 matters was too great. It was inevitable that the popularity of any other matter would be absorbed by these 3 matters. End of this chapter. Chapter 1364. He knew that even if he used his identity as the Moon Empress disciple to get the Sky City Lord to give up on the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden, it would still be useless. He had to wait for these 3 matters to die down before he could reveal the identity of the Moon Empress disciple. Only then would the Star Web masses recall the conflict between the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden and Sky City, allowing them to snatch back the traffic that had been split. However, this matter couldn't be dragged on for too long. If it was dragged on for too long, it would lose its original heat. Therefore he planned to wait a few days. Before he completely dealt with the Radiance Federation's matters and headed to the Divine Wood Federation, he would fulfill his promise to the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden. However, he did not know that the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden no longer wanted him to help. Originally, Miao Jinshan's mood was getting more and more irritable by the day. Miao Jinshan, who was extremely concerned about his and the Miao family's reputation in the Beast Creation Garden, seemed to be possessed every day. Despite knowing that he was being scolded, he still went to check the Star Web posts and forums. Miao Jinshan got up early in the morning and logged into Star Web out of habit. After logging in, Miao Jinshan froze. What was going on? Could it be that he was seeing things? Miao Jinshan flipped through tens of pages and realized that there was no mention of the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden. Miao Jinshan quickly understood that the heat had been sucked away by what happened last night. The heat from last night's incident won't die down anytime soon. During this period of time, the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden was rarely mentioned. It could be said that the popularity of this shocking bet had helped the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden take a bullet. Before Miao Jinshan could be happy for long, he recalled that Lin Yuan had promised to help. With Lin Yuan's help, wouldn't this matter be stirred up again? Miao Jinshan really wanted to call Lin Yuan and tell him that he didn't need to help anymore. However, Miao Jinshan only dared to think about it in his heart. No matter what, he did not dare to say it out loud. If this matter was revealed, it would mean that the Miao family was toying with the Moon Empress disciple. The Moon Empress disciple was infuriated and made things difficult for the Miao clan's Beast Creation Garden. The Miao family's Beast Creation Garden would only end up worse. He opened the group chat and found that Gu Lang and Zhong Zhe had added Lu Jie to ask about yesterday's situation. Night Leaning Moon was the one who started the disturbance yesterday. Zhong Zhe, Gu Lang's master, had gone to the Radiance Imperial Court to participate in the Imperial Court's meeting early in the morning. Supreme Chef and Bamboo Monarch were also confused about what happened yesterday. Zhong Zhe and Gu Lang wanted to understand the situation, so asking Lu Jie was the best channel. Before Lin Yuan could speak in the group chat, he found that Lu Jie had already replied to Zhong Zhe and Gu Lang's messages. Lu Jie, this matter was indeed caused by the members of the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids clan in the waters of Stormy Wave City. Lu Jie, Lin Yuan and I were outside Raging Wave City at that time, but I didn't have time to tell Master about this, so I don't know the specifics. Hearing Lu Jie's reply, Long Tao, Li Xian, Sun Ningxiang, and the others popped their heads out. Because of Lin Yuan, everyone had gathered in the group and formed a faction. In addition to the gathering at Zhong Zhe's place, everyone had become friends. Zhong Zhe and Gu Lang chatted in the group, not avoiding Long Tao, Li Xian and Sun Ningxiang. When it came to the topic of the disciples of His Holiness, Long Tao, Li Xian, and Sun Ningxiang all knew how to avoid arousing suspicion. Under normal circumstances, Long Tao, Li Xian, and Sun Ningxiang would not participate in such a topic. But now that it involved Lin Yuan and Lu Jie's safety, Long Tao, Li Xian and Sun Ningxiang could not help it. Seeing the concern from his friends, Lin Yuan's face revealed a bright smile. Lin Yuan, thank you for your concern, everyone. Both of us are fine. Lin Yuan, that's right, where did Gao Feng go? Previously, Gao Feng was the most talkative in the group. Basically, the Dragon King in the group was Gao Feng. Every day he would call the wind and summon the rain, disinfect the world and be a superstar. But in the past week or two, Gao Feng almost did not send any messages in the group. Even if he did send messages, he would most likely send them at night. Lin Yuan Gao Feng, but after waiting for a long time, Gao Feng still did not reply. At that moment, Sun Ningxiang sent a message. Sun Ningxiang, Lin Yuan, Grandma and I will reach the royal capital tomorrow. My grandma has been thanking you along the way. Sun Ningxiang, do you have time tomorrow? I have something to talk to you about. Lin Yuan heard this and quickly replied. Lin Yuan, bring Grandma over. I will definitely have time. Lin Yuan, I will send you my address. You can come over directly. Lin Yuan, didn't you always praise Lu Jie's cooking in the group? Tell Lu Jie what you want to eat. Lin Yuan was not overly prepared for Sun Ningxiang's arrival. Lin Yuan and Sun Ningxiang had known each other for a long time and had eaten together in private. There was no need to be so polite. When Sun Ningxiang saw Lin Yuan's reply, her expression was like the beautiful April of the human world. Lu Chan, who was beside Sun Ningxiang, saw Sun Ningxiang's expression and sighed softly. Lin Yuan had something to talk to Long Tao and Li Xian about. This matter was rather complicated and not suitable to be discussed in the group. Lin Yuan was prepared to call Long Tao and Li Xian after ending the group chat. At that moment, Gao Feng, who had been missing, appeared. Gao Feng, brothers, the Imperial Mermaid clan is simply too despicable. Gao Feng, I heard from my master that Lin Yuan, Lu Jie, and then he almost died in the hands of a female expert of the Imperial Mermaid clan. Fortunately, you two are fine. Gao Feng, if something happened to you two, how would the brothers live? Gao Feng, that's right, I have been learning from Master during this period. I will only be released to rest at night. Gao Feng, Master is attending the Imperial Court conference today, so I have some free time. If you guys want to find me next time, just give me a call. Otherwise, if you at me in the group, I might not be able to see you every time. When Gao Feng suddenly appeared, Lin Yuan sent a private message to Gao Feng. He asked Gao Feng to take over the Blissful Sea Tribe's territory in Raging Wave City and the distant islands outside of Raging Wave City. Lin Yuan and Gao Feng had established a new faction together, and they each had 50% of the faction's shares. They were both the owners of this faction. Compared to Lin Yuan taking over the Blissful Sea Tribe and expanding the business, it was more suitable for Gao Feng to manage the Blissful Sea Tribe. When Gao Feng saw Lin Yuan's message, he immediately thought that Lin Yuan might be Sky City's city lord. Lin Yuan did not want to hide it from Gao Feng. Lin Yuan and Gao Feng had become friends much earlier than Li Xian and Long Tao. Although Lin Yuan and Long Tao had exchanged phone numbers a long time ago, Long Tao and Lin Yuan had not interacted much at that time. Along the way, Gao Feng had helped Lin Yuan a lot. Without Gao Feng, Lin Yuan would not have been able to obtain young elemental shellfish and complete the initial resource accumulation. It was because of the initial resource accumulation that Lin Yuan was able to snowball more and more resources. It was all thanks to Gao Feng that Lin Yuan could have the foundation of Sky City, the floating island whale. Chapter 1365. At the Nix assembly, when Gao Feng didn't know his identity, he stood on Miao Zhuo's side without hesitation. One must know that the difference between the Gao family and the Miao family, who were both top forces, was huge. The Miao family was one of the top factions in the Beast Creation Garden, while the Gao family was ranked last. If Gao Feng stood on his side, he would have to bear the risk for the family. In times of danger, it was enough to see a person clearly. At that time, Lin Yuan recognized him as a brother. Gao Feng was rather shocked to find out that Lin Yuan was the Sky City Lord, but he also felt that it was only natural. After all, Gao Feng had seen too many miracles. Since Lin Yuan had told him this information, Gao Feng naturally wouldn't leak it out. Gao Feng had always been very grateful to Lin Yuan. Without Lin Yuan and Lu Jie, he would never have become His Holiness disciple. After the private chat with Gao Feng, Lin Yuan called Long Tao. The phone rang less than 3 times before Long Tao picked it up. Long Tao was a little surprised that Lin Yuan had called him. After all, everyone had just chatted in the group. Could it be that Lin Yuan wanted to ask about the Royal Armored Martial Divine Insects? During this period of time, plenty of alien insects comparable to Myth-Breed phase had flown out of the Class 4 alien insect dimensional rifts controlled by the Coiling Dragon Valley. However, none of these insects were Imperial Armored Martial God insects. Long Tao had no good way to deal with it. At that moment, Long Tao heard Lin Yuan speak. "Big Brother Dragon, your Coiled Dragon Valley has always nurtured dragon species phase. I wonder if Big Brother Dragon knows of any dragon species phase that are easy to rear and produce livers?" Long Tao was startled by Lin Yuan's words. Lin Yuan's question really hit Long Tao. It was true that the Coiled Dragon Valley had always focused on nurturing dragon species phase. However, the Coiled Dragon Valley rarely traded in dragon-type spirit materials. Even if some dragon species spiritual ingredients leaked out, it was because these dragon species phase could not be saved by the creation masters, so they were helplessly decomposed. However, based on Lin Yuan's question, Long Tao knew that Lin Yuan should need the livers of dragon species phase. Long Tao didn't answer Lin Yuan directly and asked him instead, "Brother Yuan, do you have any requirements for the dragon species phase bloodline that provides the liver?" Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan considered the Golden Wing's current strength. "I don't have a high requirement for bloodlines. As long as the dragon species phase are pure flood dragons or dinosaurs, it will be fine." Lin Yuan's words made Long Tao choke. Wasn't this requirement high enough? A king-class expert's contracted dragon species phase bloodline purity was at most at the level of a purebred flood dragon or a purebred dinosaur. If he wanted to raise purebred WRM species and purebred dinosaur species phase and let them provide their livers, he would be able to do so. Long Tao couldn't imagine how much resources it would cost. Putting aside the meals, purifying a dragon species phase bloodline would require a lot of creation master resources. Most importantly, these dragon species phase were not bred to be sold to spirit chi professionals, but to be taken away. After the liver was removed, the dragon species phase were bound to die. Dead dragon species phase could only be disassembled and sold as spiritual ingredients. Even if the price of dragon species spiritual ingredients on the market was on the high side, he would never be able to recover his capital. Long Tao really knew which dragon species phase was more suitable to be raised between a pure flood dragon and a dinosaur. Furthermore, this dragon species phase was relatively large, so its liver wouldn't be small. Long Tao said to Lin Yuan, "Younger brother Lin, among the purebred dinosaur phase, there is a phase called the hook-toothed behemoth dragon. The hook-toothed behemoth dragon is very easy to raise and it grows very quickly. As long as there is a large amount of meat, it will be able to mature when it reaches the gold rank. A behemoth dragon is nearly 20 meters long and 9 meters tall. Its liver weighs at least 200 kilograms. The hook-toothed giant beast dragon has the bloodline of the ancient Tyrannosaurus. It is considered rather ferocious among the purebred dinosaur phase. The liver controls emotions. The ferocious dinosaur phase livers usually have stronger medicinal properties, so they are sold at a higher price in the spiritual ingredient market. Young brother Lin, if you want to choose a purebred dinosaur phase for its liver, the hook-toothed giant beast dragon is more suitable. Our Coiling Dragon Valley has a behemoth dragon with hooked teeth. Not long ago, the curly-tusked behemoth dragon in Coiling Dragon Valley died. Before it died, it left behind 6 dragon eggs. These 6 dragon eggs should have the potential to become breeding dragons." Lin Yuan's eyes lit up. Among the dragon species phase, flood dragon species phase were clean. Dinosaur phase were in heat their entire lives and would leave behind many descendants. However, dinosaur phase that were in heat for their entire lives would usually lay eggs with the best genes before they died. As a top faction, Coiling Dragon Valley's choice of dragon quality was understandable. Therefore, the genes of the hook-toothed behemoth dragon in these 6 eggs must be very outstanding. He had decided to eat the hook-toothed behemoth dragon's liver in the early stages. Lin Yuan said to Long Tao, "Big Brother Dragon, you said before that you wanted to establish your own emerging force to practice. Why don't we work together to nurture a rag-toothed behemoth dragon?" Hearing that, Long Tao's eyes suddenly lit up. Long Tao didn't expect that Lin Yuan would take the initiative to bring him along. This was Long Tao's chance. Long Tao agreed immediately and said, "It will naturally be good if we can establish a rising faction. Moreover, it will be a rising faction established together with Brother Lin. I can only provide 1 Class 4 Creation Master and 5 Class 3 Creation Masters to nurture the hook-toothed behemoth dragon. After the hook-toothed behemoth dragon's liver is extracted, carefully divide the other parts of its body. The faction's function can be set on the dragon species' spiritual ingredients. I have experience in nurturing dragon species phase. Just leave the management, feeding, liver extraction, division, and sale to me." Long Tao's words were very open and straightforward. He spoke of his difficulties and everything he could do for the faction. Lin Yuan felt very comfortable discussing a collaboration with Long Tao. Lin Yuan said, "Big Brother Dragon, I will provide the Creation Master resources. I will have to trouble Big Brother Dragon with the other aspects." Long Tao was stunned by Lin Yuan's attitude that he didn't care about the Creation Master resources. It could be said that he was only putting in a bit of effort to establish a faction with Lin Yuan. Since Long Tao and Lin Yuan were working together, he could not take advantage of Lin Yuan for free. Therefore he said, "Since that is the case, you will take 70% of the rising faction shares, and I will take 30%. Long Tao spoke sincerely, but when Lin Yuan heard Long Tao's words, he immediately said, "Big Brother Dragon, since we are establishing the faction together, why don't we each take 50% of the shares? In the future, my demand for the dragon liver's quality will only increase. The faction will need Big Brother Dragon's help." After Lin Yuan spoke, Long Tao still insisted on only taking 30%. Chapter 1366. In the end, it was Lin Yuan who spoke. "How about this, Big Brother Long? In the future, when I need dragon-type spiritual materials, I'll just take them from the faction. I might need a lot of dragon-type spiritual materials in the future. If we each take 50% of the shares, I might even be the one taking advantage of Big Brother Long." Long Tao only gave up after hearing Lin Yuan's words. After hanging up the phone, Long Tao hurried to prepare for the establishment of the force. Lin Yuan continued to be a hands-off boss, just like when he had established the faction with Gao Feng. After dealing with the dragon liver, all that was left was the phoenix blood. However, phoenix blood was not as easy to deal with as dragon liver. This was because he did not want to casually obtain phoenix blood from some one phoenix species phase. Instead, he wanted to obtain it from the main phoenix-type Fae. In fact, it was not that Lin Yuan had not thought of providing Gray with a main dragon species phase liver. However, he really could not afford to nurture a large number of main dragon species phase for their livers. According to his current situation, he had no choice but to lower his expectations. Extracting phoenix blood was different from extracting essence blood. It would not cause too much harm to the main phoenix-type Fae. At most, the main phoenix-type Fae would be weakened for a period of time if too much phoenix blood was extracted. Therefore, it was possible for him to obtain the main phoenix species phase blood. As for the channel to obtain the main phoenix species phase blood, he could only think of Li Yun Bird Cage. Previously, he had traded a bunch of golden lotus brocade plants with Li Yun Avian Niche and maintained a friendly relationship with her. It was also because of this transaction that Li Xian was chosen as the young patriarch among the many Li Yun Niaokang of the younger generation. If he wanted to trade the phoenix blood with Li Yun Avian Cage, he would not contact her directly. Lin Yuan planned to find Li Xian as a middleman and let him talk to the elders who had main phoenix species phase. Lin Yuan called Li Xian. After the call was connected, Lin Yuan didn't bother to exchange pleasantries with Li Xian. "Brotherly, I need your help." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Li Xian quickly replied enthusiastically. "Brother Lin, if there's anything you need help with, just tell me. If I can do it, I'll do it immediately. If I can't do it, I'll find a way to create the conditions." Li Xian had always been grateful to Lin Yuan. If it wasn't for Lin Yuan, Li Xian would have had to make a move on his siblings in order to become Li Yun Yao Can's young family head. 2 years ago, Li Xian's younger siblings had grown up to 15 or 16 years old. He wanted to seize power from Li Xian both openly and secretly. Li Xian was very clear about this, but he had always been hesitant about whether or not he should do anything. Just as Li Xian couldn't take it anymore and was about to defend his position in the clan, Lin Yuan's appearance made the clan's elders' council make a decision, so that Li Xian wouldn't have to act against his sisters-in-law anymore. Li Xian had always believed that Lin Yuan had not only helped him raise his status in the clan but had also redeemed his conscience. Given Lin Yuan's status, Li Xian could not think of anything that he could repay Lin Yuan for. Now that Lin Yuan had taken the initiative to seek his help, he finally had a chance. Upon hearing Li Xian's words, Lin Yuan replied with a smile. "Brother Li, there should be quite a number of main phoenix-type fays in your dawn cloudbird nest, right?" Li Xian didn't know why Lin Yuan would ask this. However, since Lin Yuan had asked, Li Xian answered truthfully. "The basic qualification for our dawn cloudbird nest to join the Elders' Council is to have a main phoenix-type fae. There are over 40 people in the Elders' Council, and there should be at least 50 main phoenix-type fays." Upon hearing Li Xian's words, Lin Yuan was delighted. With 50 main phoenix-type fays providing phoenix blood, it would be enough for the Golden Wing to grow into a myth breed. As long as he could reach an agreement with Dawn Cloudbird Nest, he wouldn't need to worry about the source of the main phoenix-type phase blood for a long time. It was really not a bad idea to make a public announcement. It was worth it. After all, one could save the book and read it offline. "Brother Li, I want to ask for your help this time. I need a large amount of main phoenix-type phase blood from the phase of your Dawn Cloudbird Nest's elders." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Li Xian's throat moved, and he swallowed his saliva violently. For a moment he didn't know how to respond. It could be said that Lin Yuan's request had frightened Li Xian. Li Xian couldn't imagine if he told the Elders' Council to let out the blood of his main phoenix-type fae. What would the Elders' Council's expression be like? He might even lose his position as the young patriarch. However, he had just told Lin Yuan to do it immediately if he could. If he couldn't, he would think of ways to create the conditions to do it. This caused Li Xian to feel awkward. Lin Yuan did not let Li Xian feel awkward for too long. After Lin Yuan said that, he immediately said, "That's right. Big brother Li, you should need the Phoenix Nirvana flower to cultivate a Phoenix-type fae, right? If I say that I can provide a Phoenix Nirvana flower for those main Phoenix-type fays every time they collect their blood, I wonder if Big Brother Li can use this condition to negotiate with the Elder Council." Upon hearing that, Li Xian finally heaved a sigh of relief. Right now, in the Dawn Cloudbird Nest, the elders were fighting fiercely over what spirit materials they were fighting over. Without a doubt, it was the Phoenix Nirvana flower. The Nirvana Phoenix flower was a plant fae that could activate a Phoenix species phase bloodline to a large extent. The Phoenix Nirvana flower's effect was similar to the Dragon's Mouth Orchid, which could enhance the bloodline of dragon species phase. However, compared to the Dragon Snake Orchid, the Nirvana Phoenix flower was undoubtedly more difficult to cultivate. If the Nirvana Phoenix flower wanted to reach a certain level of quality, just like the Dragon Snake Orchid, it needed pure spirit energy. However, compared to the Dragon Snake Orchid, the Black Phoenix flower required more fire elemental energy. As a result, the price of the Nirvana Phoenix flower was 1.5 times that of the Dragon's Mouth Orchid. If Lin Yuan could take out the Phoenix Nirvana flower, the elders in the clan would be willing to sacrifice their main Phoenix species Fey bloodline. They would be very willing to trade with him. Before Li Xian could agree, he heard Lin Yuan say, "Don't worry. Big brother Li, if you don't have enough epic Phoenix Nirvana flowers, I still have heavenly maiden grade elemental pearls that you can use to trade." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Li Xian hurriedly replied, "Brother Lin, the Nirvana Phoenix flower is enough. I'm confident that I can convince the elders in the clan. I'll be able to reply to Brother Lin soon." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan nodded. Lin Yuan currently did not have the Phoenix Nirvana flower. Similar to the Dragon Snake Orchid, the Phoenix Nirvana flower rarely appeared on the market and was extremely difficult to buy. Lin Yuan had the confidence to take out a large number of Phoenix Nirvana flowers to trade with the Dawn Cloudbird Nest's elders because he had gone to the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden's underground treasury previously. Lin Yuan had found dozens of Phoenix Nirvana flowers in the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden's treasury. Although most of these Phoenix Nirvana flowers had not reached epic, Lin Yuan did not mind. As long as he used this opportunity to help the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden to obtain those Phoenix Nirvana flowers. Lin Yuan could easily raise these Phoenix Nirvana flowers quality to epic. He could even pick some high-quality ones and raise them to legend. ABC. Chapter 1367. The Nirvana Phoenix flower was planted in the Spirit Lock spatial zone. If the roots of the Nirvana Phoenix flower were not injured, new Nirvana Phoenix flowers could be grown very quickly. After hanging up the phone, Li Xian took the initiative to convene the elders for the first time as the young family head. To put it bluntly, the elders had chosen Li Xian as the young patriarch because they had taken a fancy to his relationship with Lin Yuan. The younger generation members that the elders supported were different, and their interests were intertwined. Even though Li Xian was now the young family head, he still could not get the approval of all the elders. Li Xian planned to take this opportunity to completely build a cooperative relationship with the elders. Ever since he had established a faction with Lin Yuan, Zhong Zhe, Gulang, and the others, Li Xian's position in the clan had become more stable. Using this matter, Li Xian felt that his reputation in Li Yun bird niche should be the #1 person under the clan head. This time it was Lin Yuan who had asked for his help, but Li Xian knew that he owed Lin Yuan even more. If Lin Yuan only needed the blood of a main phoenix species Fae, he just needed to take the Nirvana Phoenix flower and post an exchange on Star Web. Those experts with main phoenix species Faes would definitely be willing to exchange. Apart from this exchange itself, Lin Yuan's continuous provision of Nirvana Phoenix flowers to Li Yun bird niche. It was equivalent to taking the initiative to help Li Yun bird niche increase its strength and strengthen its foundation. Li Xian planned to tell all the elders of Li Yun Yaocan about this. Let the entire Li Yun bird niche admire Lin Yuan's kindness. On this day, Lin Yuan sorted out the harvest in Shocking Wave City. As a pinnacle immortal sea emperor, the mother of Bloodbath had absorbed the blood energy in its body after its death. It could no longer let Red Thorn control it through the tongue of Relinquish. There were still plenty of spiritual materials left behind. Among them, the relatively intact shark skin could be left for when you to make a few sets of clothes. The shark skin was soft and weightless, but it had extremely strong defensive properties. In addition, the reverse scales on the skin could reduce wind resistance and severely injure the opponent when colliding with the reverse scales. After the shark Mang died, Lin Yuan also obtained an object that looked like a figurine from its body. Lin Yuan knew that this might be what his master, the Moon Empress, had mentioned before, the immortal body in the undying species Fae. Let me interrupt, the app that I've been using recently supports both Android and Apple phones. The immortal body was essentially a transformation of willpower runes. The willpower rune, Law Crystal, World Crystal, and immortal body were all related to the Fae's quality. When Lin Yuan had obtained the immortal body, he had noticed that the princess in his soul spirit was throbbing. It was as if he had seen a rare treasure. However, when the princess saw the immortal body, she was not as impatient as she was when she saw the world crystal. Lin Yuan communicated with the princess through their souls and knew that she was unable to absorb the immortal body before the growth period. The growth period referred to the sacred source lifeform stage from 7 to 9 stars. It seemed like the immortal body in the industrial mermaid's body was another immovable property, and Lin Yuan needed to store it for a period of time. Mermaid Mang's undying body contained a part of his soul. Through Morbius Silver Spirit-locked Remembrance Soul Whale, Lin Yuan was fully capable of condensing Shark Mang's soul from its immortal body. However, Lin Yuan obviously would not do so. In fact, ever since he had obtained the Remembrance Soul Whale, he had wondered if he could resurrect his parents. But his parents were humans, and not only were their souls not strong enough. After death, their souls would easily dissipate. Lin Yuan knew that his parents had died in the alien insect dimensional rift, and their bodies had probably been torn to pieces by the alien insects. The only things left behind by his parents were the 2 Spirit Guard badges and the blood-stained letter. The 2 Spirit Guard badges and the blood-stained letter were like Lin Yuan's entrustment. Looking at the 2 badges and the letter, Lin Yuan could always think of his parents. It was as if his parents were still by his side. For the first time, Lin Yuan felt timid and did not dare to let the Remembrance Soul Whale examine the 2 badges and the letter. Even though Lin Yuan already had an answer in his heart, sometimes people like to lie to themselves. He hoped for a fluke. After thinking about it again and again, Lin Yuan, who had gathered his courage countless times, still decided to take out the 2 Spirit Guard badges and the blood-stained letter that his parents had left behind. He nervously summoned the Remembrance Soul Whale and carefully placed the 2 badges and the letter in front of the Remembrance Soul Whale. In the end, the answer was as cold as Lin Yuan had expected. Yesterday's battle with the High Lords and the words that came from the giant golden tree made Lin Yuan understand more deeply the meaning of radiance. Now that he looked at the two spirit guard badges, Lin Yuan suddenly understood why his parents had known the danger back then. They had still left him and Chu Xiai at home and rushed to that battle to uphold the responsibility of radiance. When Lin Yuan had first received the two spirit guard badges, he had been puzzled. But now Lin Yuan completely understood. This was because he and the Moon Empress had chosen to embark on the same path as his parents. Lin Yuan placed the two badges on his chest with longing and looked at the blood-stained letter for the whole night. At that moment, Lin Yuan was more like a youth who had just turned 18 years old. The morning sun shone through the window on Lin Yuan, who had not slept for the whole night. Looking at the morning light, Lin Yuan put away the two badges and the blood-stained letter as if they were treasures. Lin Yuan opened the door and went downstairs to see Lu Jie preparing small wontons. With a sniff, Lin Yuan immediately confirmed that Lu Jie's small wontons were filled with his favorite pork and green bamboo shoots. Lu Jie knew that Sun Ningxiang would bring her grandmother to visit the mansion in a while. Previously, Lu Jie had specifically asked Sun Ningxiang in the group what she wanted to eat. Lu Jie, who had just finished washing the dishes, began to prepare lunch in the kitchen. Lin Yuan, who was sitting on the water rhinoceros leather sofa, looked at the red sandalwood longevity fish tank and suddenly found that it was a little small. Or rather, the 3 Mountain River Eternal Life Carps and the 99 5 Fortune Ranches in the red sandalwood longevity fish tank had all grown up. It just so happened that the hidden WIRM lake was completed. The eye spirit siphon goldfish that Lin Yuan had specially bred for Blackie's exclusive skill and had awakened its dragon species bloodline were all placed in the hidden WRM lake. The angelfish of bliss was very docile and would not attack the spirit siphon goldfish. Lin Yuan thought it would be better to raise the 3 Mountain River Eternal Life Carps and the 99 5 Fortune Ranches in the hidden WRM lake. The spirit chi gathered by the 99 5 Fortune Ranches was enough to make the flowers in the Reflection Sun King Lotus's 100 pavilions more prosperous and colorful. As for this red sandalwood longevity fish tank, it would not be empty for nothing. Afterward, he would find any aquatic auspicious phase that were suitable to be raised indoors and then raise them in. Otherwise, now that the 3 Mountain River Eternal Life Carps had grown to 3 meters in length, they wouldn't be able to swim freely in this 9-meter-long red sandalwood longevity fish tank. In the process of putting the 3 Mountain River Eternal Life Carps into the hidden WRM lake, Lin Yuan found that their bloodlines were somewhat abnormal. It seemed that the 3 Mountain River Eternal Life Carps were about to evolve. ABC. Chapter 1368. The 3 Mountain River Eternal Life Carps had been nurtured by Lin Yuan since they were young. Fish phase did not have high intelligence, but the 3 Mountain River Eternal Life Carps were exceptionally close to Lin Yuan. After accompanying Lin Yuan by the hidden WRM lake for a long time, the 3 Mountain River Eternal Life Carps swung their tails and started to swim in the hidden WRM lake. The 3 Mountain River Eternal Life Carps had an exclusive skill, Place of Life. They entered the hidden Dragon Lake and went to the Angelfish of Bliss. Even the shining Sun King Lotus and the rare flowers planted in the 100 pavilions were happily stretching their branches and leaves. Looking at the beautiful scenery he had created, Lin Yuan let out a breath of turbid air that he had been suppressing in his heart. All of a sudden Lin Yuan entered a mysterious state. Creativity can make people happy. A willpower rune full of the meaning of creation appeared in his mind. Lin Yuan was naturally happy to comprehend a new willpower rune. However, this willpower rune was clearly not suitable for the whale. At that moment, Lin Yuan heard the crisp cry of a bird coming from the mansion's entrance. Lin Yuan looked at the mansion's entrance and noticed that Sun Ningxiang had arrived. Beside Sun Ningxiang was a woman who was about the same height as Sun Ningxiang. This woman's facial features were somewhat similar to Sun Ningxiang's. Lin Yuan knew that Sun Ningxiang's parents had passed away. This woman should be Sun Ningxiang's grandmother, Lu Chan, an emperor-level powerhouse. Lin Yuan hurriedly walked forward and prepared to welcome Sun Ningxiang and Lu Chan into the house. As a result, when Lin Yuan arrived at the entrance of the mansion, before he could even speak to Sun Ningxiang had already arrived. Lu Chan knelt on one knee and said solemnly to Lin Yuan, "I am Lu Chan. Thank you for saving my life. Thank you for using the Lunar Dew Revival Pill to save my life." Upon seeing that Lu Chan was about to kowtow and thank him, Lin Yuan hurriedly reached out to hold her arm and help her up from the ground. Lin Yuan and Sun Ningxiang were friends, and Sun Ningxiang's grandmother was thanking him. Lin Yuan really could not bear it. When he had saved Lu Chan, he had not thought about the value of the Moon Dew Revival Pill. In retrospect, Lin Yuan did not regret using a Lunar Dew Revival Pill to save Lu Chan's life. Lin Yuan had the ability to not save his friend's family. When Sun Ningxiang saw that Lu Chan was still preparing to thank Lin Yuan, she was afraid that Lin Yuan would be put in a difficult position. Sun Ningxiang gently held Lu Chan's arm. Sun Ningxiang and Lin Yuan had not seen each other for a long time, but the last time she had seen him in the extreme arena, he had been wearing a mask. Sun Ningxiang didn't notice any changes in Lin Yuan. Sun Ningxiang couldn't help but be stunned when she saw Lin Yuan's exquisite facial features and increasingly elegant temperament. When Lu Chan noticed that Sun Ningxiang had lost her composure, she gently moved her arm. Only then did Sun Ningxiang regain her senses. Sun Ningxiang, who had returned to her senses, blushed and lowered her head, not daring to look at Lin Yuan's face. He did not notice the change in Sun Ningxiang's expression. Lin Yuan had been hoping that Lu Chan would stop kowtowing. After exchanging a few pleasantries with Lu Chan, Lin Yuan led Sun Ningxiang and Lu Chan to the main mansion. As soon as she arrived at the main residence and sat on the sofa, Sun Ningxiang decided to explain everything to Lin Yuan first. Lin Yuan was pouring 3 treasures tea for Sun Ningxiang and Lu Chan and had yet to fill up Sun Ningxiang's teacup. Sun Ningxiang said, "Lin Yuan, our Dew Immortal Garden wants to attach to Sky City from today onwards. We will become a branch faction of Sky City like the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce." Lin Yuan didn't look happy when he heard Sun Ningxiang's words. Instead he frowned. Lin Yuan felt that Sun Ningxiang had made such a decision because she was grateful that he had saved Lu Chan. If Lin Yuan and Sun Ningxiang were not friends, Lin Yuan would be very willing for Sun Ningxiang to do this to thank him. However, Lin Yuan now regarded Sun Ningxiang as a good friend. Sun Ningxiang's actions made Lin Yuan feel that Sun Ningxiang was materializing their relationship too much. Thus, Lin Yuan asked Sun Ningxiang seriously, "Did you decide to let the Dew Immortal Garden attach to Sky City to express your gratitude? If it's to express your gratitude, you don't have to do this. If you really want to return the favor of this Lunar Dew Life Recovery Pill, wait for the Dew Immortal Garden to develop for a period of time and accumulate enough resources. Then, you can return it to me with equivalent resources." Sun Ningxiang shook her head gently. Sun Ningxiang had indeed made this decision to thank Lin Yuan. However, Sun Ningxiang, as the decision-maker of a peak force, was not so one-sided. When Sun Ningxiang made this decision, it was also for the sake of the entire Dew Congealing Immortal Garden. The Dew Immortal Garden was attached to Sky City, fulfilling Sun Ningxiang's wish to thank Lin Yuan. It would also affect the future development of the Dew Congealing Immortal Garden. Even if Lu Chan's body had recovered, there was only one Emperor-level expert in the Dew Immortal Garden. The Creation Master's resources and martial strength were all cut off. Such a Dew Congealing Immortal Garden would find it hard to develop further. Sun Ningxiang said after sorting out her thoughts. The Dew Immortal Garden is now relying on Sky City to provide Creation Master resources. Without Sky City, the Dew Immortal Garden's plant-type Fey function will instantly collapse. Relying on Sky City is a way out for our Dew Congealing Immortal Garden. Lin Yuan, if you think that our Dew Immortal Garden is alright, then accept it. From now on, Grandma and I can focus on developing the Dew Congealing Immortal Garden. We don't need to rack our brains for the schemes of other factions. Just think of it as our Dew Congealing Immortal Garden wanting to rely on a big tree. Hearing Sun Ningxiang's words, Lu Chan's heart turned sour. He felt that his granddaughter Sun Ningxiang's words were a little too humble. It was clearly to express its gratitude, but it was afraid that Lin Yuan would not agree to accept the Dew Immortal Garden. Therefore it even said something like, backing a big tree. Lu Chan understood her granddaughter's maiden feelings. However, when Lu Chan saw Lin Yuan for the first time and saw his clean eyes, she couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. Lu Chan knew that Lin Yuan did not have such thoughts. It was no wonder that the Moon Empress disciple would strive for the Radiance Envoy's position in 2 years. How could his mind be clouded by lust? When Lin Yuan heard Sun Ningxiang's words, he looked at her and pondered. Just as Lin Yuan was muttering to himself, Sun Ningxiang said, "Don't worry. Lin Yuan, if Sky City doesn't accept the Dew Immortal Garden, I might as well let the Dew Immortal Garden fall from a top faction to a veteran faction. Then sell all the cultivation bases in the Dew Immortal Garden to Sky City. We are old friends. We are friends. You won't refuse to take over our Dew Immortal Garden's spirit plant cultivation bases, which are priced at 1/5 of the market price, right?" Upon hearing Sun Ningxiang's words, Lin Yuan shook his head helplessly. "Since you've said this, from today onwards, the Dew Immortal Garden will be the second independent faction under Sky City. I won't ask about the Dew Immortal Garden's development. The Du Immortal Garden only needs to report to Wenyu, just like the listening Heron Chamber of Commerce. End of this chapter. Chapter 1369. After saying that, Lin Yuan pondered for a moment before continuing. As a greeting gift for Du Immortal Garden joining Sky City, I will provide Du Immortal Garden with 2,000 Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls of various elements, 300 Bronze/Epic Phase, 10 Bronze/Legend Phase, 500 pieces of mid-grade swamp soil, and 50 pieces of high-grade swamp soil. Lin Yuan's calm words shocked Lu Chan and Sun Ningxiang. At that moment, Lu Chan and Sun Ningxiang only had one thought in their minds. They had decided to let Du Immortal Garden join Sky City. Were they repaying the favor or speculating? Lin Yuan had invested too many resources into Du Immortal Garden. When Lin Yuan had cooperated with Du Immortal Garden previously, he had been providing Bronze/Epic Phase to Du Immortal Garden. It was the investment of these Bronze/Epic Phase that had allowed Du Immortal Garden to turn around its declining trend without a Class 4 Creation Master. With just these remaining grassroots personnel, Du Immortal Garden's plant phase market share had increased by 3 percentage points. After all, Du Immortal Garden and Sky City had maintained a cooperation for such a long time, but they had not exchanged for 300 Bronze/Epic Phase. If the Bronze/Epic Phase that Lin Yuan had invested in Sky City were all production-type spirit plants. By relying on these Bronze/Epic spirit plants as main plants to cultivate, Du Immortal Garden could occupy more of the plant phase in the market. Moreover, Lin Yuan had just promised not only 300 Bronze/Epic Phase. There were also 10 Bronze/Legend Phase. In order to save Lu Chan, Sun Ningxiang had desperately searched for Bronze/Legend Muscle Revitalizing Camellia, but she could not find it. Could be seen how precious Bronze/Legend spirit plants were. The Du Immortal Garden had accumulated less than 20 stalks of Bronze/Legend quality spirit herbs over the past 100 years. Lin Yuan's provision of Bronze/Legend spirit plants was equivalent to expanding Du Immortal Garden's high-end spirit plant market share by 1/3. This was something that Sun Ningxiang and Lu Chan could not imagine before. Moreover, Lin Yuan had provided Du Immortal Garden with far more precious resources. The price of 2,000 Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls was higher than the total value of 300 Bronze/Epic Phase and 10 Bronze/Legend Phase. Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls were exclusive to Class 4 Creation Masters. The Du Immortal Garden had to use all kinds of elements to nurture plant phase. After the incident that had caused a large number of Creation Masters to leave the Du Immortal Garden, Sun Ningxiang would have to spend some effort to obtain ordinary elemental pearls. Now that Lin Yuan had invested 2,000 Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls, Sun Ningxiang and Lu Chan were stunned. He felt like he was in a dream. In order to nurture plant-type phase, soil was the foundation. When the Du Immortal Garden nurtured plant-type phase, it always had high requirements for the soil. This caused the quality of the plant phase that the Du Immortal Garden put on the market to be higher than the other factions that specialized in plant phase. The secret of Du Congealing Immortal Garden's good soil was that it was not stingy with its swamp soil. The use of the swamp soil allowed the Du Immortal Garden to accumulate an excellent reputation over the years. However, after the incident at the Du Congealing Immortal Garden, Sun Ningxiang no longer had enough resources to add more swamp soil to the cultivation base. This caused many consumers to realize that the quality of the plant species phase that the Du Immortal Garden had put on the market in the past few months was not as good as before. This caused Du Congealing Immortal Garden to face a crisis of public opinion in the market. Now that Lin Yuan had invested so much mid-grade swamp soil and high-grade swamp soil, the quality of the plant species phase that the Du Immortal Garden put on the market would only get better. This caused the crisis of public opinion that the Du Immortal Garden was facing to collapse. If Lin Yuan really invested so many resources into the Du Immortal Garden, Sun Ningxiang was confident that she could increase the Du Immortal Garden's plant phase market share from 30% to 50% in a very short time. When the Du Immortal Garden's plant phase market share reached more than 50%, the Du Immortal Garden would truly monopolize the Radiance Federation's plant phase market. At that time, no matter what the other factions that specialized in plant phase did, they would no longer be able to shake the Du Immortal Garden's position. The only way to continue to develop was to cooperate with the Du Immortal Garden. At that time, the Du Immortal Garden could use some means to continue to integrate the market resources. It would gradually expand the plant phase market share of 50%. It could be said that Lin Yuan's words made Sun Ningxiang see a beautiful future. Sun Ningxiang increasingly felt that Lin Yuan's shoulder was a warm harbor that people could not help but want to rest on. However, Lin Yuan had just consumed a Moon Dew revival pill to save her grandmother and had saved her and the Dew Immortal Garden from danger many times. She was here to thank him and repay his kindness. But now, Lin Yuan was going to invest so many resources into the Dew Immortal Garden. Where did her kindness go? Without considering from the perspective of kindness, just from the perspective of cooperation. The Dew Immortal Garden had just been incorporated into Sky City and had yet to make any contributions to Sky City. As the saying went, one should not receive a reward without pains, let alone such a massive amount of resources. Lu Chan looked at Sun Ningxiang with a complicated expression and then at Lin Yuan. At first glance, Lu Chan thought that Sun Ningxiang had fallen in love with him because of his appearance and temperament. Such a young man with such good looks and temperament was simply too attractive to women. But now it was obvious that it was not as simple as his appearance and temperament. Lin Yuan had a terrifying ability to make money, was decisive, and was someone who could do great things. There was only one possibility for a woman not to be tempted by such resources. That was no heart. When Lin Yuan saw Sun Ningxiang's conflicted expression, he did not immediately agree. Lin Yuan replied with a chuckle. I'm not providing these resources to the Dew Congealing Immortal Garden for free. I have a request for the Dew Congealing Immortal Garden. After obtaining these resources, I hope that the Dew Immortal Garden will be able to expand the spirit plant breeding base and strive to ensure that every plant phase can satisfy the market's demand. Also, stock up on plant phase that require a lot of daily consumption in case of emergencies. When Sun Ningxiang heard that Lin Yuan was going to make a request, she had thought that he would ask her to seize as much market share as possible. Unexpectedly, Lin Yuan did not request for this. The Dew Immortal Garden had at least 2,000 spirit herb cultivation bases. These spirit plant cultivation bases were chosen in the best areas of the Radiance Sect's major cities. This was the investment that Dew Immortal Garden had made when Sun Ningxiang's grandfather was still alive. Each of the 2,000 or so spirit plant cultivation bases had dozens of outsourced cultivation bases. These spirit plant breeding bases were the reason why the Dew Immortal Garden was able to monopolize the plant type phase in the market. However, even with so many spirit plant breeding bases, it was obviously not enough to meet Lin Yuan's request. It's almost the new year. I'll strive to give you 10 consecutive updates before February. Treat it as a New Year's benefit. I hope everyone can support button. End of this chapter. Chapter 1370. In Sun Ningxiang's opinion, Lin Yuan's request for the Dew Immortal Garden did not seem like a business investment. Instead, Lin Yuan wanted to use the Dew Immortal Garden for something. She thought of the conflict between Chief Guard Knight and the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids yesterday. Sun Ningxiang's heart trembled as she thought of a possibility. Lin Yuan, you asked the Dew Immortal Garden to stockpile plant fair-related resources in preparation for war? Lin Yuan nodded upon hearing that. That was indeed what Lin Yuan was thinking. The lava that had fallen from the sky yesterday had let Lin Yuan know how destructive a war was to a city. Once an expert used a meteorological phenomenon to carry out a destructive attack on a city during a war, many existing facilities and places would be instantly paralyzed. At that time, there must be enough resource reserves to be able to withstand the current predicament. Lin Yuan wanted to make this kind of preparation. That's right. In the process of stockpiling resources, the Dew Immortal Garden's ranking among the top factions will not have an obvious improvement. On the contrary, I hope that the Dew Immortal Garden can remain silent and bide its time. Do your best to start accumulating plant fair-related resources. The process of accumulation will consume a lot of resources, which I will provide to the Dew Immortal Garden. Lin Yuan had previously thought that he had the soldier food radishes. He would rely on these soldier food radishes and nurture them. It would be enough to support the food consumption of a large number of people. In fact, when the soldier food radishes were planted to a certain extent, it would not be a problem for Lin Yuan to support the entire Radiance people's food supply. However, what had happened yesterday had made Lin Yuan realize that he had thought everything too simply. Food was a necessity, but in addition to food, people also needed many other things to survive. If he did not prepare these things first and something special happened, he would immediately fall into a passive state. Plant phase were the producers of the entire ecosystem. He would preserve the base of plant phase and stockpile plant fair-related resources. No matter what happened in the future, Lin Yuan would have the confidence to deal with it. In fact, the Radiance Federation had a department that specialized in stockpiling resources. This department was the one that used revival soil to trade heavenly maiden-grade elemental pearls in Lin Yuan's purchase with no Lost Star web store. Just like the spirit guards, Gung Garden also had a majesty guarding it. This eminence was one of the Radiance Federation's 13 eminences, Tian Feng. It was not that Lin Yuan did not believe in the plantation's resource reserves, but he had always liked to plan ahead. In any case, Lin Yuan's Spirit Lock Spatial Zone was a treasure vault that could continuously harvest a large number of resources without any investment. With the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone he could afford it. When Sun Ningxiang heard his words, she immediately knew what she could do for him. Sun Ningxiang's heart was suddenly filled with enthusiasm. Lin Yuan, I asked the Du Immortal Garden to submit to Sky City, but I never thought of raising its ranking among the top factions. Tomorrow, Grandma and I will announce to the public that the Du Immortal Garden will begin its seclusion. From now on, the Du Immortal Garden will focus on hoarding plant-type fair-related resources. If I need anything in the future, I won't hold back. I'll tell you immediately. Strive to maximize the speed of resource storage. It's just that most of the good lands suitable for building spirit plant cultivation bases have been purchased by the various major powers. The remaining lands will more or less need to be transformed. When Lin Yuan heard Sun Ningxiang's words, his heart stirred. The Radiance Federation did not have much land suitable for farming. But the swamp world had plenty of them. Lin Yuan was now occupying the Nether Scorpion Apostles' territory, which was slightly smaller than Radiance's large cities. Even though a large part of this land was a swamp, given his current ability he could easily deal with it. It was not difficult to build a path in the swamp world. The entire territory was guarded by Bai Yin, who could guarantee its safety. He could open up a vast area in this territory and build spirit plant breeding bases to make use of the territory. However, those who came to work in the territory had to voluntarily avoid the world. At that thought, Lin Yuan said to Sun Ningxiang, Sun Ningxiang, I have land that is suitable for building a Fey breeding base, but the people working on this land have to go into seclusion. As an allowance for them to live in seclusion, I can give them 10 times the treatment they get when they work outside. We can also let these people move their families to this land. How many of such people can you find in the Dew Condensation Immortal Garden? Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Sun Ningxiang immediately replied without thinking. You can find a bunch of such people in the Dew Condensation Immortal Garden. Most of the people working in the Fey breeding base are ordinary people or some spirit chi professionals who don't have any combat ability. These people work 6 hours a day for shifts, and their monthly income is about 4,000 Federation dollars. If I can increase their salary by 10 times and increase it to 40,000 Federation dollars a month, there shouldn't be anyone who will refuse. At that point, Sun Ningxiang had a lot of things to say to Lin Yuan. However, she did not know what to say in the end. In Sun Ningxiang's eyes, Lin Yuan was His Majesty's disciple, the Sky City Lordess, and he had countless resources in his hands. It was impossible for Lin Yuan to understand the hardships of ordinary people. In fact, as a direct descendant of a top faction, Sun Ningxiang should not understand the hardships of ordinary people. Sun Ningxiang understood so much because her grandfather had arranged for her to train in the Dew Condensation Medical Center for a period of time when she was young. During this period, Sun Ningxiang, a young lady of a top faction, had seen the life of ordinary people in the secular world. Lin Yuan nodded when he heard Sun Ningxiang's words. What Sun Ningxiang did not know was that Lin Yuan had worked harder than these ordinary people in the Fey breeding base. He had dragged his sickly body to maintain a small Fey store. With Auntie Zhang's care, Lin Yuan could only earn 2,000 Federation dollars a month. At that time, Lin Yuan had used 300 Federation dollars to fill his stomach and 200 Federation dollars to occasionally help Genius and Chimey improve their meals. As for the remaining 1,500 Federation dollars, Lin Yuan had been carefully saving them so that Chu Ci could complete her studies. No one knew the hardships of survival better than Lin Yuan. Upon hearing Sun Ningxiang's words, Lin Yuan emphasized, "Then help me choose some people. When choosing people you must emphasize seclusion. The seclusion will be for life." Sun Ningxiang was slightly startled when she heard Lin Yuan's words. Seclusion was fine. It would not be a problem to seclude for 8 to 10 years. However, seclusion for life was a little too long. Lin Yuan had his own considerations. He could not confirm the loyalty of these people who had been selected to work in the Swamp World's Fey plant breeding base. Therefore, if he wanted the Swamp World situation not to be leaked, the best way was to let these people live in the Swamp World forever. Chapter 1371. He would definitely not mistreat these people. He could promise high-quality bronze phase and a bright future to those spirit craftsmen working in the swamp world. However, to ordinary people who couldn't become spirit chi professionals, high-quality bronze phase weren't very attractive. Therefore, he intended to improve their living standards. Just as Sun Ningxiang was about to ask if there were any other requirements apart from seclusion, Lin Yuan stopped her. Lin Yuan said, "For these people who live in seclusion, they will be given 10 boxes of all kinds of spirit fruits that can improve their physical qualities and 15 kilograms of various kinds of meat every month. There will be spirit craftsmen who will specially build standalone houses that are around 200 square meters. The rooms will be equipped with jasmine lilies and other household fays. We will also arrange for healing class spirit chi professionals to treat illnesses for free." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Sun Ningxiang felt that such seclusion was simply a blessing for ordinary people. Those who worked in fey breeding bases had very small social circles. Other than working hard to make a living, he spent most of his time with his family. What these people wanted the most was a stable and comfortable life. Putting aside the tenfold salary that Lin Yuan was offering, just the living conditions that he was offering were enough to tempt anyone. In the Radiance Federation, those people in the fey breeding base would struggle for their entire lives. They might not even be able to live in a 200 square meter detached house. "Lin Yuan, I will handle this matter as soon as possible. How many people do you want to choose?" Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan pondered for a moment before replying, "That's right. The area I've designated is about 2,000 square kilometers. Look at how many people are needed for such a large fey breeding base. Just recruit as many people as you need." When Sun Ningxiang heard Lin Yuan's words, she was a little surprised at the area that Lin Yuan reported. Such a large area was comparable to a county under a large city. Such a large area would require a lot of manpower, at least 100,000 people. Lin Yuan and Sun Ningxiang were straightforward people, and they settled the matter in a few words. Lu Chan, who had been listening to Lin Yuan and Sun Ningxiang's discussion, blinked her eyes when she saw that they had finished their discussion. When Lu Chan was young, she often represented the Dew Condensation Immortal Garden to discuss cooperation with other forces. Every time they discussed cooperation, both sides would strive to maximize their own benefits. They did not give in to each other and schemed back and forth. Lin Yuan and Sun Ningxiang seemed to have a tacit understanding when discussing matters. Or it could be said that in order to achieve his goal, he simply did not care about the investment of resources. Lu Chan had previously thought of letting Sun Ningxiang fight for a spot in the Radiance Knights Legion. However, Sun Ningxiang's eyes were filled with vigor as she thought about how to complete the mission that Lin Yuan had given her. Under such circumstances, how could Sun Ningxiang still have the mood to improve her strength and attack the Radiant Light Knights? Now that Sun Ningxiang was closer to Lin Yuan, their friendship might continue to deepen. But if this continued, the love between the two of them would undoubtedly become even more distant. As an experienced person, Lu Chan could see everything clearly. However, Lu Chan did not know how to tell Sun Ningxiang about these things. In the end, Lu Chan sighed. Forget it, the younger generation will have their own blessings. This matter was related to the Moon Empress disciple, and even if his old bones wanted to worry about it, he wasn't qualified. At this time, Lu Jie had already served the dishes. Ever since the mother of Bloodbath saw the thick sun chain, it had been in a complicated mood. In order to let the mother of Bloodbath change its mood, Lin Yuan simply let it go to the popular shops with the group members that it had met in the gourmet group. At this time, the mother of Bloodbath was not in the mansion. Thus, only Lin Yuan, Lu Jie, Sun Ningxiang and Lu Chan ate this lunch together. Lu Jie cooked the dishes that Sun Ningxiang had ordered, and Sun Ningxiang had specially taken care of Lu Chan's taste when ordering. When Lu Chan and Sun Ningxiang were eating, they almost swallowed their tongues into their stomachs. After the meal, Lu Chan and Sun Ningxiang did not stay for long and were ready to deal with the follow-up matters. The Dew Immortal Garden was integrated into Sky City, and Sun Ningxiang had to complete Lin Yuan's mission again. For a long time in the future, Lu Chan and Sun Ningxiang would be busy. Just as Lin Yuan and Lu Jie were talking about the Divine Wood Federation's development after the meal, in the Radiance Royal Court, Mystic Moon was in a dilemma. This was the first time Mystic Moon was participating in the Imperial Court Conference. Mystic Moon, who had become eternal, had the qualifications to become a holiness. Although Mystic Moon was currently the Moon Empress Moon Envoy, there was no way to pass Mystic Moon's test. However, Mystic Moon's strength allowed her to speak on equal terms with the Majesties. But now, Xianyu, who was attending the Imperial Court Assembly for the first time, was completely embarrassed. This was because Xianyu knew that the Moon Empress had contracted the longevity rat and resolved her predicament. To put it bluntly, as long as the Moon Empress subordinates didn't kill the longevity essence rats, the Moon Empress lifespan would be much longer than the High Lords. Xianyu had guessed that Night-Leaning Moon would attack the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids not only because of Lu Jie. It was very likely that it had more to do with knowing that the Moon Empress was only left with 3 years of lifespan. Xianyu was right. Since the beginning of the royal court meeting, apart from that old man, His Highness Cicada Cry, and Ji Changdeng who had yet to return to Huiyao, there was no one else. The other sovereigns all asked Night-Leaning Moon what was going on. Night-Leaning Moon didn't explain the reason, but things had developed to this point so there was no way to hide it. In the end, under the questioning gazes of the 7 majesties, Cicada Cry could only helplessly explain the situation. It would have been better if he did not explain the situation, but once he did, the entire imperial court assembly exploded. It was especially so for the Bamboo Monarch, who owed the Moon Empress a favor. He immediately expressed that he wanted to travel and search for spiritual ingredients that could extend his lifespan. This made Mystic Moon rather touched as she knew that the Bamboo Monarch was truly indebted to the Moon Empress. He thanked the Moon Empress from the bottom of his heart. However, as a Moon Envoy, Mystic Moon couldn't reveal the fact that the Moon Empress lifespan had recovered without the Moon Empress' permission. At that moment, Chef Supreme, who knew that the Moon Empress only had 3 years left to live, finally spoke up. I happen to have some friendly relations with the Azure Winged Tiger clan, one of the Azure Federation's 12 Azure clans. When Bamboo Monarch goes out to search for spiritual materials that can increase one's lifespan, I'll make a trip to the Azure Federation. The Azure Winged Tiger clan must have some Azure Winged Tiger blood essence. The Azure Winged Tiger blood essence has the effect of increasing one's lifespan. Take a drop of the Azure Winged Tiger's blood essence every day for a year. It should be able to extend your lifespan by 3 months. However, after taking it for a year, the Azure Winged Tiger's blood essence will lose its effect. I'll have to think of another way. Hearing Chef Supreme's words, Mystic Moon couldn't help but ask. The Moon Empress had said that she would only come out of seclusion before the Radiance 100 sequence. During this period of time, she couldn't possibly toss all the sovereigns out just because she had to guard the news, right? Chapter 1372. These highnesses had been working hard for the Moon Empress, and she would inevitably owe them favors. It was not easy to return favors from highnesses. Just as Mystic Moon was thinking of ways to stabilize these highnesses without revealing the Moon Empress situation, Iron Prison, who was sitting beside Cicada Cry, stood up and said, "In another month, it will be the Radiance 100 sequence selection. In another month, it will be the Radiance 100 sequence selection. In less than a month, the Azure Federation's envoys and the Freedom Federation's envoys will arrive in Radiance. It's not suitable for all of you to go out at this time. The sea races matter has not been resolved. The Imperial Mermaids have publicly acknowledged that they tore up the Radiance Sea Treaty and trampled on Radiance's dignity. I propose to completely eliminate the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids." Mystic Moon had never liked Iron Prison, but he felt that his words were very pleasing to the ear. If the other highnesses listened to Cicada Cry, they would stay in Radiance before the Radiance 100 sequence. Once the Moon Empress came out of seclusion, this matter would be easily resolved. As soon as Iron Prison finished speaking, Cicada Cry could not help but rub his temples and think to himself. The logic was right, but he definitely could not say it like that. Iron Prison was really a blockhead to actually do something that offended others. The atmosphere was so depressing now, and if Iron Prison said this, wouldn't he become the punching bag for others? Fortunately, Ji Changdeng was not around. If Ji Changdeng was here, he would probably start a fight with Iron Prison. Sure enough, as soon as Iron Prison finished speaking, Night-Leaning Moon slammed her hand on the table and said, "Why do all the highnesses need to be present for the Radiance 100 sequence selection and 2 Federation envoys? I will hand over all the Spirit Guards matters to my left and right officials to handle. Tomorrow, I will head to the Radiance Moon Palace to stay. When Sighing Moon comes out of seclusion, ask her about her situation, and I will bring her out to look for opportunities." Mystic Moon was a little unhappy when he heard Night-Leaning Moon's words. The Moon Empress is in seclusion. Who allowed you to stay in the Radiance Moon Palace? At the same time, Night-Leaning Moon's words made Mystic Moon heave a sigh of relief. If Night-Leaning Moon could stay in the Radiance Moon Palace until the Moon Empress came out of seclusion, it would be equivalent to stabilizing the most troublesome Night-Leaning Moon. Before Mystic Moon could heave a sigh of relief, the Bamboo Monarch spoke again. The new leaves of my golden silk emperor bamboo have the effect of increasing one's lifespan. I can use the young leaves of the golden silk emperor bamboo to make a spirit liquid with the heart of the bamboo. Before I leave, I will pass the concocted spirit liquid to Xianyu. The spirit liquid concocted from the golden thread emperor bamboo's bamboo leaves and bamboo heart can only be consumed 6 times by the Moon Empress before it becomes ineffective. 6 times should be able to increase the Moon Empress lifespan by at least 3 months. In addition to the Azure Winged Tiger's blood essence that Chef Supreme obtained from the Azure Federation, the Moon Empress can be assured for at least 4.5 years. Bamboo Monarch's words made Tian Feng frown. Fu Wenju, your Class 5 Creation Master Dao is on the Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo. It is fine if you took the Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo's bamboo leaves, but if you took the bamboo core and damaged the Golden Silk Emperor Bamboo's roots, wouldn't your Creation Master standard drop to the pinnacle of Class 4? Bamboo Monarch said firmly when he heard Tian Feng's words. I owe the Moon Empress a favor even if I use my life to repay it. The Moon Empress saving Xiangxiang is equivalent to saving my life. After speaking, Bamboo Monarch didn't say anything else. Bamboo Monarch's words made Tian Feng speechless for a moment. As a majesty, Bamboo Monarch understood the significance of a Class 5 Creation Master to the Radiance Federation. However, Bamboo Monarch didn't choose righteousness when it came to the Moon Empress lifespan. Instead, he chose personal relationships. It was just like how Bamboo Monarch chose Wang Fuxiang. After hearing Bamboo Monarch's words, Iron Prison stood up and ignored Cicada Ming, who was pulling his sleeve. He said coldly, Bamboo Monarch, you really disappoint me. Be it the previous time or this time, you are very disqualified as a majesty. Forget it. My desolate bloodline Fei, the infernal turtle, attained eternity not long ago and obtained an exclusive skill, Turtle Life Judgment. Turtle Life Judgment can transfer my lifespan to others in a converted manner. I will use my lifespan to exchange for you to stay in the Radiance Federation and for Bamboo Monarch to become a Class 5 Creation Master. After converting my lifespan, the Moon Empress can live for at least another 100 years. As long as I don't die, the Moon Empress can always live. After speaking under everyone's gaze, Iron Prison sat back on his chair and tilted his head to look at Cicada Ming. Iron Prison's eyebrows, which were more than twice as thick as an ordinary person's, raised slightly as though he was asking Cicada Ming, why did you pull me just now? Night Leaning Moon, Chef Supreme, Bamboo Monarch, Tian Feng, and the others looked at Iron Prison with a layer of respect. Iron Prison wasn't like Ji Changdeng, who loved the Moon Empress deeply and was her bootlicker. Iron Prison and the Moon Empress were always at odds, or rather, Iron Prison didn't get along with any majesty during the Great Night Assembly. Iron Prison would only stick to his own thoughts and was very stubborn. This made many majesties have opinions about Iron Prison. It could be said that Iron Prison's relationship with others was the worst among all the majesties. But now Bamboo Monarch, Chef Supreme, Night Leaning Moon, Tian Feng, and the others suddenly understood Iron Prison's heart. Iron Prison had just said that Bamboo Monarch was somewhat disqualified. Perhaps Iron Prison had always been in the proper category. Compared to Iron Prison, they were indeed not that competent. Xianyu took a deep look at Taiyu. Her opinion of Taiyu had completely disappeared. Mystic Moon even had a good impression of Iron Prison. If Lin Yuan's longevity rat hadn't solved the Moon Empress predicament, perhaps Iron Prison would have been the Moon Empress path of redemption. Iron Prison's desolate bloodline Fei had judged that the Flaming Tortoise's strength had reached the Eternal Realm. Even Class 5 Creation Masters couldn't see through the Eternal Fei's exclusive skill. If Iron Prison didn't say it, it would be a secret that would never be known by outsiders. However, Iron Prison had revealed the Flaming Tortoise's exclusive skill for the so-called proper. Iron Prison's method was equivalent to using his own lifespan to exchange for the Moon Empress's lifespan. At this moment, Mystic Moon felt that Iron Prison was rather great. This greatness had nothing to do with strength, but Iron Prison's body had a radiance that Mystic Moon couldn't ignore. Just as everyone was immersed in their own thoughts, Iron Prison stood up and fired at Night Leaning Moon again. I have been talking about the Moon Empress lifespan problem. Now the problem has been solved. I want to mention that Night Leaning Moon made a move against the Imperial Mermaid race. In my opinion, she was too impulsive. I don't object to making a move against the Imperial Mermaid race, but before making a move, she should have at least discussed it in the Imperial Court Assembly. If the three of us had made a move together and summoned a celestial phenomenon to fight against the Imperial Mermaid race, the result would have been completely different. As long as we can severely injure the Imperial Mermaid race and kill most of their members, the Imperial Mermaid race will no longer be able to bring benefits to the Freedom Federation. The Freedom Federation's Du Miao wouldn't have intervened and summoned the sacred source life form, Boiling Platycodon. Iron Prison was still so radical that Cicada Cry couldn't help but shake his head. Chapter 1373. This Iron Prison had just done something that left Night Leaning Moon with a good impression and even caused her to feel deep respect for him. He immediately began to stir up trouble again. Shooting at Night Leaning Moon at this time, wasn't he just waiting to quarrel with her? Moreover, Iron Prison had thought of things too simply. Just as Cicada Cry was about to change the topic and give Iron Prison and Night Leaning Moon a way out, Night Leaning Moon stood up and bowed towards the Iron Prison as she spoke. Iron Prison, I, Night Leaning Moon, owe you a favor today. Whatever you want me to do in the future, just tell me. After Night Leaning Moon said these words to Iron Prison, her tone immediately changed. He slammed his hand on the table and said, "Do you think I don't have the ability to kill the members of the Imperial Mermaid clan under the protection of UAO, the leader of the Imperial Mermaid clan? My sacred source life form, the Dark Sky Prajna, is indeed my first contracted sacred source life form, but my second contracted sacred source life form, the Resurrection Lily Flower, is the strongest phenomenon I can currently conjure. You know how powerful the combination of the Dark Sky Prajna and the Permitha Scholar Flower is. I didn't use the sacred source life form, the Permitha Flower, to kill the members of the Imperial Mermaid clan because I wanted to spare their lives. When the 8 clans of Ocean Empire gather in Radiance, we will resolve the Radiant Sea Treaty. Iron Prison, you should know that if I kill most of the members of the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids clan, we won't be in the right position in the negotiation. It's very likely that this will incite the Sea Folk to unite against a common enemy. Iron Prison, I, Night Leaning Moon, have been in charge of the Spirit Guards for decades as Her Holiness Hui Yao." The entire Imperial Court meeting ended in Mystic Moon's dizziness. After stepping out of the Radiance Royal Court, Mystic Moon heaved a sigh of relief. He told the other majesties about what he had learned from Lin Yuan during the Imperial Court Council. It also stabilized the other High Holiness and allowed them to wait for the Moon Empress to come out of seclusion. He hadn't messed up either of those things. However, after the entire Imperial Court meeting, Mystic Moon made a decision in her heart. That was to never participate in the Imperial Court Council ever again. This was simply too brain-burning. Lin Yuan, who had been staying in the mansion for the past 2 days, had returned to his previous state of bursting with energy. During these 2 days, Lin Yuan had basically spent all his time nurturing the steel barbed iron shells. Since he had reached an agreement with the Stormy Wave City, he naturally had to prepare the spiky iron clam that he would hand over to Wang Su in the future. Lin Yuan, who had been working hard for 2 consecutive days, was not as exhausted as before. After consuming the geocentric jade milk, his body had transformed. Lin Yuan realized that he would no longer feel particularly tired even if he worked hard. Even when sleeping, he only needed to take a short nap to replenish his vitality. Sun Ningxiang had mailed a diamond face storage box to him yesterday. This diamond face storage box contained plenty of law origin crystals. Lin Yuan counted at least 4,000 of them. After obtaining the diamond face storage box, Lin Yuan called Sun Ningxiang. He knew that this was something Sun Ningxiang had specially prepared for him, but she had forgotten to give it to him when she left. When he had traded high-quality bronze phase with Sun Ningxiang, he had earned hundreds of law origin crystals from her. In addition to the more than 4,000 that Sun Ningxiang had given him, the Du Immortal Garden's law origin crystals reserve was less than 5,000. This was far from the Coiling Dragon Valley's law origin crystals reserve. The Coiling Dragon Valley had taken out more than 10,000 law origin crystals without batting an eyelid. It seemed that there was often a huge gap between the top factions and a certain specific material reserve. About 5,000 law origin crystals were nothing to the current Lin Yuan. However, this allowed Lin Yuan to understand Sun Ningxiang's intentions. He knew that she had been thinking about what he needed. Long Tao and Li Xian had called Lin Yuan for the past 2 days. After discussing with Lin Yuan, Long Tao and Lin Yuan decided to set up a faction called the Dragon Tomb. Its main function was to sell the spiritual materials on dragon species phase. As the Coiling Dragon Valley's young family head, it was easy for Long Tao to get the 6 eggs of the hook-toothed behemoth dragon from the family. Not to mention, after knowing that Long Tao and Lin Yuan were going to set up a new faction together, the Coiling Dragon Valley's upper echelons all raised their hands and feet in approval. However, the hook-toothed behemoth dragon's eggs were related to the nurturing of the new faction's initial breeding dragons. Lin Yuan asked Long Tao to send the 6 hook-toothed behemoth dragon eggs to him. Lin Yuan naturally did not want these hook-toothed behemoth dragon eggs to see what they looked like. Instead, he wanted to hatch these hook-toothed behemoth dragons and enhance them. Lin Yuan took half a day to inject a large amount of pure spirit qi into these 6 hook-toothed behemoth dragon's eggs to speed up their hatching. After these hook-toothed behemoth dragons hatched, Lin Yuan upgraded the 3 male and 3 female hook-toothed behemoth dragon infants to Bronze X/Legend. Then he asked someone to send 6 young dragons to Long Tao as breeding dragons. Lin Yuan had already laid a foundation for these 6 hook-toothed behemoth dragons. Long Tao would then need to guide these 6 hook-toothed behemoth dragons into estrus to breed offspring. When Long Tao received the 6 young hook-toothed behemoth dragons, he did not feel anything at first. However, not long after, Long Tao suddenly realized that these 6 little fellows that had been upgraded to bronze were all at legend. Long Tao could not help but be dumbfounded for a long time. Long Tao sighed in his heart more than once. It was simply too cool to cooperate with Lin Yuan. To be able to nurture 6 Bronze/Legend phase in such a short time, Long Tao's subconscious reaction was that the Moon Empress had helped. Long Tao looked at these 6 Bronze/Legend hook-toothed behemoth dragons and was filled with enthusiasm. With such an excellent foundation, the quality of the offspring produced by the hook-toothed behemoth dragons would certainly not be bad. Through the spirit fluid cultivation to speed up childbirth, Lin Yuan would be able to provide the first batch of dragon livers in a month or 2. The newly established faction, the Dragon Tomb, could also open for business normally. Li Xian easily convinced the clan's elders at the Council of Elders. After all, the elders of Li Yun Avian Domain knew how their faction had risen. This was because Li Xian had stood in that small circle at the Nix assembly and chatted cheerfully with the 4 disciples of His Holiness. This had allowed Li Yun Avian Domain to reach cooperation with many top factions. Even the big cities that had not cooperated with Li Yun Avian Domain before had started to order flying phase from Li Yun Avian Domain. This made Li Yun Avian Domain's elders feel proud when they went out. Even if Lin Yuan wanted to ask for the phoenix blood of the main phoenix species Fei for free, many elders of Li Yun Avian Domain were willing to provide it. Moreover, Lin Yuan had taken out the phoenix nirvana flower to exchange for it. Li Yun Avian Domain's elders were not ranked according to strength. However, the stronger elders were often able to sit at the front of the Elder Council. Chapter 1374. Once he refused to cooperate with Lin Yuan and the other elders agreed to cooperate with Lin Yuan, he would immediately face a passive situation. The other elders had obtained a large number of phoenix nirvana flowers through their cooperation with Lin Yuan. If the main phoenix species phase bloodline kept improving, the corresponding strength would also keep increasing. This would cause the elders who agreed to trade with Lin Yuan to constantly squeeze into the front ranks of the Elders Association. None of the elders who understood this were willing to decline their status in the Elder Council because they refused to cooperate. As long as he had the Phoenix Nirvana flower, he could exchange for the main phoenix species phase blood from the Dawn Cloud birdcage anytime and anywhere. However, Lin Yuan wasn't in a hurry to obtain the phoenix blood. After all, if the Golden Wings wanted to increase their strength, they had to eat dragon liver and phoenix blood together. Just having phoenix blood without dragon liver was useless. During these 2 days, Lin Yuan browsed through the star web. He realized that the popularity of the posts regarding the weather change, the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids tearing up the Radiant Sea Treaty, and the shocking bet between the Radiance Federation and the Freedom Federation had decreased significantly. Some people even began to recall the Blood Oath battle between the Miao family and the Blissful Sea clan in the Beast Creation Garden. Lin Yuan knew that it was about time to use his identity as the Moon Empress disciple to intervene in this matter. The conflict between the Radiance Federation, the Imperial Mermaids and Mermaids, and the Freedom Federation wasn't considered as gossip news. There was nothing to discuss. The Star Web netizens would at most discuss how terrifying the astronomical anomaly was. It was precisely this kind of news that caused the popularity of these 3 incidents to drop so quickly. The anomaly in the sky that evening was witnessed by everyone at the same time. Most of the people who usually didn't log onto the Star Web had logged onto the Star Web to understand the situation. These few days were the period with the highest number of Star Web netizens. If he used his identity as the Moon Empress disciple to intervene in the conflict between Sky City and the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden, he would indeed be suppressed by the popularity of those 3 matters. However, this period of time allowed more people to log on to the Star Web to understand the conflict between Sky City and the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden. Furthermore, he had used his identity as the Moon Empress disciple to intervene in the conflict between the Sky City and the Meow family's Beast Creation Garden. It was a matter of gossip and had a lot of repercussions. Since Lin Yuan was the Moon Empress disciple and also the Sky City Lord, he had to be careful. If Lin Yuan wanted the incident to ferment, he did not need to do anything. He just needed to find a Star Web reporter to publish the article. The Star Web had a rigid requirement for public opinion news. This requirement meant that the news published by the Star Web reporters had to be filled with their own views and could set the pace. However, they had to ensure the authenticity of the news. Therefore, as long as it was news released by Star Web columnists, Star Web netizens would accept it very well. As for which Star Web reporter to look for, Lin Yuan didn't even think before choosing Tian Ningning. As Black's exclusive reporter, Tian Ningning was obviously not suitable to publish a column on this matter. Tian Ningning had recently used Miaohe's connections to build a rather large network of Star Web columnists. Previously, when you needed Star Web reporters to publish news, she had asked Tian Ningning to find them. He planned to tell Tian Ningning about this and ask her to find a suitable Star Web reporter. Such hot exclusive news was enough for a rookie Star Web reporter to become a big shot in the industry. If Tian Ningning wasn't suitable, he could let Tian Ningning give this opportunity to someone else. This way Tian Ningning could maintain a perfect friendship with a big shot reporter. Through Tian Ningning he could indirectly let this big shot reporter serve Sky City. Lin Yuan immediately dialed Tian Ningning's number and talked to her about this matter. After hearing what Lin Yuan said on the phone, Tian Ningning went to the Return from Faraway Mansion without another word. After arriving at the Return from Faraway Mansion, Tian Ningning excitedly handed Lin Yuan 3 sets of Star Web reporters' information. She asked Lin Yuan to choose from these 3 Star Web reporters. Lin Yuan took the information and looked at it carefully. He saw that the Star Web reporter in the first set was called Yu Fang, a rookie Star Web reporter. She had just succeeded in her studies and was considered a blank piece of paper without any resume. While Lin Yuan was looking at Yu Fang's information, Tian Ningning introduced Yu Fang's situation to him. Yu Fang was currently interning under Tian Ningning. If he chose Yu Fang, Tian Ningning planned to simply set up a Star Web reporter's office and sign Yu Fang before giving this opportunity to Yu Fang. This could ensure that Yu Fang wouldn't turn hostile after getting the benefits. The Star Web reporter in the second set was called Wang Rue. After looking at Wang Rue's photo, Lin Yuan could be sure that Wang Rue was at least 50 years old. The Star Web reporters at this age had made a name for themselves and became Star Web editors or even chief editors. Those who weren't doing well were generally veterans who wrote their drafts based on their own will and had offended many people. In Tian Ningning's introduction, Wang Rue was indeed such a veteran. The reason why Tian Ningning chose Wang Rue was because he had offended the chief editor. He had been ostracized in Star Web and was facing a state of semi-unemployment. Tian Ningning was confident that she could persuade Wang Rue to join her studio. Lin Yuan had filtered out Wang Rue when comparing Yu Fang and Wang Rue. The Star Web reporter that Lin Yuan was looking for was just a mouthpiece. A mouthpiece that could pass messages was good enough. There was no benefit to Lin Yuan to have a mouthpiece. When Lin Yuan looked at the third set of information, he couldn't help but raise his brows. The woman in the third set of information was about 20 to 30 years old. Her long curly hair was draped to her waist, but it didn't look messy at all. Instead, she looked very capable. The woman had deep eyes and was very charming. Her resume was also excellent, and she had even interviewed Radiant's 100 Sequence members. However, this Star Web reporter had once been banned by a guild club because she had reported on a team from that guild club. This guild club was the Barbarian Snake Guild Club that Lin Yuan had dealt with previously. It was impossible for this Star Web reporter, Zhou Man, to not know that reporting on the Barbarian Snake Guild Club's main team was cruel and suspected of blackmail would result in retaliation from the Barbarian Snake Guild Club. However, Zhou Man still did it despite knowing. This showed that she had a strong sense of justice and conscience. This sense of justice and conscience would drive Zhou Man to disregard danger. When looking at Zhou Man's information, Lin Yuan realized that Tian Ningning had prepared the most detailed information on her. When he was looking at Zhou Man's information, Tian Ningning spoke the most. She also specifically mentioned that Zhou Man was very knowledgeable about public opinion and public relations. Lin Yuan had previously asked Tian Ningning to be the Dome Guild Club's team reporter. It was too difficult for Tian Ningning to have only one team reporter in a guild club. Since Zhou Man was capable, Lin Yuan thought that he might as well let her be Tian Ningning's assistant. As for the Barbarian Snake Guild Club's ban on Zhou Man, it was just a joke in Lin Yuan's opinion. When Tian Ningning had just introduced Zhou Man, she had already expressed her preference for Zhou Man more than once. Chapter 1375. Seeing that Tian Ningning was looking at Zhou Man's information with anticipation, Lin Yuan handed it back to her and said, "Tian Ningning, can you handle Zhou Man yourself?" When Tian Ningning heard Lin Yuan's words, she immediately nodded in pleasant surprise. "I can handle Big Sister Man. Big Sister Man is considered half a teacher to me." Lin Yuan raised his eyebrows and said, "I can handle Big Sister Man. Big Sister Man is considered half a teacher to me." Lin Yuan raised his brows and said, "Then go and do it. After that, ask Zhou Man to draft a star web report based on what I just told you and send it to me." Tian Ningning left the return from faraway mansion in high spirits. If Tian Ningning hadn't understood Lin Yuan before, she wouldn't have shown him Zhou Man's information. Now that she knew Lin Yuan was the Moon Empress disciple, she did not treat the Barbarian Snake Guild Club, which had banned Zhou Man, as a piece of cake. In less than 4 hours she sent Zhou Man's report to Lin Yuan through the chat software. After reading it, Lin Yuan felt that it was feasible. Zhou Man's news draft was clear and impartial to each faction. It only stated the outcome and not the process. It seemed to be narrating a conflict from an outsider's point of view. When this report was posted on Star Web, it would definitely arouse people's imaginations, and guess what would happen next? After Lin Yuan agreed, Zhou Man, who was beside Tian Ningning, logged into Star Web with mixed feelings. After deliberating for a long time and reviewing this Star Web report several times, she finally posted it. Zhou Man knew that after this Star Web report was posted, her life would be completely different from before. The shackles that the Barbarian Snake Guild Club had placed on her would be broken by her new owner. She would also be reborn and be able to post on the new website again. Zhou Man was very grateful to Tian Ningning and the young man who was the Moon Empress disciple. When Zhou Man's report was posted on Star Web, it caused a huge commotion. Over the past few days, people on Star Web did not discuss the dispute between Sky City and the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden. It was not because the netizens had forgotten. On the one hand, it was because the matter a few days ago was too shocking. On the other hand, the dispute between Sky City and the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden had never been followed. They could only use conspiracy theories to explain the conflict. Now, a disciple of Her Holiness was involved. This disciple of His Holiness had stopped the conflict between Sky City and the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden. It was no wonder that Sky City and the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden were so peaceful. Zhou Man's report mentioned that the Moon Empress disciple had intervened in this conflict in order to stifle the chaos that might be caused by the faction struggle on the eve of the Radiance 100 sequence. The behavior of the Moon Empress disciple had garnered a wave of fans on the Star Web. In the past few months since the establishment of Sky City, it had always been on the hot list of forces. Coupled with the mystery and wealth of Sky City also had a large number of die-hard fans. The die-hard fans of Sky City naturally wouldn't allow the disciple of the full Moon Empress to interfere in this matter. As a result, Sky City was unable to destroy the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden and take revenge. As a result, there were two trends on the Star Web. One side represented Sky City, while the other side represented the Moon Empress disciple, and an intense conflict of opinion broke out. Correspondingly, Lin Yuan's power of faith instantly increased at a faster rate. He knew that this growth rate of the power of faith would last for a while. Of course, there was no event that would never fade, and it was the same for this matter. Lin Yuan wasn't worried about this because in a month's time, with his identity as a combat class spirit chi professional, he would be able to take the top spot in the Radiance 100 sequence selection. At that time, the power of faith would naturally come again. After Zhou Man published this Star Web report, a large number of Star Web reporters began to follow the trend to report this matter. Many Star Web reporters secretly envied Zhou Man, who was said to have been banned by a certain guild club, for getting such explosive first-hand information. However, such public opinion reports were not prohibited on the Star Web. After the Star Web reporters discovered this big news, they all added their own views and wrote articles. In any case, as long as they copied it fast enough, they could become the publisher of second-hand news. They could also gain popularity and make money. This matter had only been fermenting for half a day, and before Lin Yuan could contact the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden, Miao Jinshan gritted his teeth and took the initiative to call Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan didn't stand on ceremony during the call with Miao Jinshan. He directly asked for the Phoenix Nirvana flowers in the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden's inventory. Miao Jinshan naturally didn't dare to refuse. Lin Yuan didn't have any desire to communicate with Miao Jinshan, but Miao Jinshan expressed goodwill to Lin Yuan more than once. He expressed his intention to submit. Lin Yuan didn't destroy the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden and instead protected it because he wanted to harvest the power of faith. He also wanted to use the cooperation between the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden and the Whale Ocean trade to see if he could find that strange seed with immortal aura. Therefore, Lin Yuan pretended to casually mention the topic of the cooperation between the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden and the Whale Ocean trade. Miao Jinshan was worried that he didn't have a topic to talk to Lin Yuan about. He was afraid that he would say something he shouldn't and offend Lin Yuan. He saw that Lin Yuan was interested in the cooperation between the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden and the Whale Ocean trade. Miao Jinshan didn't hesitate to tell Lin Yuan the news that Di Wanqing had repeatedly emphasized not to leak. Lord Lin Yuan, our cooperation with the Whale Ocean trade hasn't started yet. According to the Whale Ocean trade's second-in-command, Di Wanqing, they found the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden to enhance a seed. As for what the seed is, it hasn't been sent over, so I'm not too sure. Now that you've solved the predicament of the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden, the Whale Ocean trade doesn't have to worry about it anymore. I'm sure they'll send the seed to the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden soon and continue the previous cooperation. Miao Jinshan's heart surged with anger. Miao Jinshan recalled how the Whale Ocean trade had rejected him when he had sought help from the Whale Ocean trade. After being rejected by the Whale Ocean trade, Miao Jinshan had thought of refusing to cooperate with the Whale Ocean trade more than once. However, Di Wanqing's threat on the way back had made Miao Jinshan unable to ignore the Whale Ocean trade's power. To put it bluntly, Miao Jinshan was afraid of the Whale Ocean trade. Under the threat of the Whale Ocean trade, he was forced to sign a cooperation agreement with the Whale Ocean trade. Therefore, he told Lin Yuan about the agreement he had repeatedly with the Whale Ocean trade not to expose it. Miao Jinshan felt his heart full of pain and pleasure. Lin Yuan's eyes lit up when he heard Miao Jinshan's words. Seed? Would the seed that the Whale Ocean trade asked the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden to cultivate be the same as the seed that Red Thorn had devoured? End of this chapter. Chapter 1376. Lin Yuan wasn't sure if Red Thorn would devour another strange plant seed with immortal aura. Could the tongue of Relinquish evolve again? Because of that strange plant seed, Red Thorn's bloodline was upgraded to the peak of three-winged. However, it was very likely that Red Thorn would use the power of the seed to break through in one fell swoop after absorbing the next freak seed. He would become a four-winged demon and create a new history of demon phase. Lin Yuan said calmly. Oh, I see. 3 of your Miao family's Emperor-class experts were killed in the Blood Oath battle between the Beast Creation Garden and the Blissful Ocean clan. You only have 4 of the 7 Emperor-class experts left. When I have the time, I'll visit your place and use nomological crystals to replenish your Miao family's Beast Creation Garden with 3 emperors. At the same time, I'll take a look at what kind of plant seeds the Whale Ocean Trading Company, one of the top 3 factions, needs to cooperate with other factions to cultivate. Miao Jinshan was attracted by the first half of Lin Yuan's sentence. Although the 3 dead peak Emperor stage powerhouses were a little out of control after becoming great Emperor stage powerhouses, the Emperor stage powerhouses did not have any restrictions. But those 3 were indeed the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden's Emperor-level combat power. Miao Jinshan's heart ached when she died. Miao Jinshan was so happy that he could not help but take small steps in the study when he heard that he could make up for the 3 Emperor-class experts who had died. The extreme joy and surprise caused Miao Jinshan to no longer be in the mood to listen to the second half of Lin Yuan's sentence. Subconsciously he agreed to it. After Miao Jinshan was done being happy, he suddenly understood what Lin Yuan meant. If Whale Ocean Trading Company had stepped in to help the Miao family's Beast Creation Garden, even if the matter had not been resolved. In order to keep his promise, Miao Jinshan naturally wouldn't show that seed to Lin Yuan. However, Miao Jinshan believed that he had latched onto Lin Yuan and the Radiant Moon Palace. He was no longer afraid of the Whale Ocean trade. Miao Jinshan, who had just obtained benefits from Lin Yuan, understood a principle. He would have meat to eat if he followed Lin Yuan. Since Lin Yuan wanted to see the Whale Ocean trade seed, he would just take a look. As for Lin Yuan's last words, it was the doubt that Miao Jinshan had always had in his heart. The Whale Ocean Trading Company was formed by the merger of 3 peak powers. Before the merger, the Sea Sky lineage's creation master resources were superior to the Miao family's beast creation garden. After the merger, the whale ocean trade swallowed all kinds of resources with an unstoppable momentum. After developing for so many years with these resources, the Sea Sky lineage's creation master resources would definitely increase tremendously. The whale ocean trading's creation master resources were obviously superior to the Miao family's beast creation garden. Why would the whale ocean trading cooperate with the Miao family's beast creation garden? Let me recommend the app I've been using recently. It supports both Android and Apple phones. Why couldn't the whale ocean trade do something as trivial as strengthening a plant seed? He thought about the abnormal situation of the whale ocean trade over the past few years, as well as the people of the Sea Sky bloodline who had never appeared again. Miao Jinshan subconsciously felt that something was wrong. The Sea Sky lineage's creation masters had always been forthright and loved to move around. Miao Jinshan had a close relationship with the Sea Sky lineage's creation masters. These people had held plenty of private creation master gatherings and invited Miao Jinshan to participate. However, Miao Jinshan had not seen these people for more than a decade. Even if he was hiding from the world, he didn't have to hide for more than 10 years, right? With the temperament of the Sea Sky lineage's creation masters, how could they endure being isolated for 10 years? Miao Jinshan pondered for a long time. In the end, in order to curry favor with Lin Yuan, Miao Jinshan decided to use it as a topic of conversation. Lord Lin Yuan, don't say it. The whale ocean trade's creation masters haven't appeared for more than a decade. I keep feeling that the whale ocean trade is hatching some plan. Otherwise, the Sea Sky lineage's creation masters wouldn't have stayed hidden for more than a decade and focused on their work. Upon hearing Miao Jinshan's words, Lin Yuan thought in his heart. It seems like the whale ocean trade's Sea Sky lineage is well hidden. The Miao family's beast creation garden, which has a deep cooperation with the whale ocean trade, still doesn't know the situation. However, Lin Yuan had saved Ji Feng and learned from him that the Sea Sky lineage's people had turned into skeletons. As early as 10 years ago, they had been murdered by the Myriad Flag's lineage. Of course, Lin Yuan naturally wouldn't choose to tell Miao Jinshan about this. If he told Miao Jinshan, how would he dare to cooperate with the whale ocean trade? After hanging up the phone, Lin Yuan received the Phoenix Nirvana flowers that Miao Zhuo personally delivered. Lin Yuan placed the 31 Phoenix Nirvana flowers into the Spirit Lock spatial zone and took out 31 jade pots. He planted the Phoenix Nirvana flowers in the jade pots one by one. Then he placed them in a corner of the Spirit Lock spatial zone. Although the Phoenix Nirvana flowers had similar effects as the Dragon's Mouth orchid, they didn't need to be like the Dragon's Mouth orchid. It needed to be broken off by someone before a new one would grow out. When the Phoenix Nirvana flowers matured, they would automatically fall off the plant. In places without spirit chi, the fallen Phoenix Nirvana flowers would consume the flower's spirit chi and slowly wither. However, in places with abundant spirit chi, the fallen Phoenix Nirvana flowers could be preserved forever under the spirit chi's nourishment. After planting the 31 Phoenix Nirvana flowers, Lin Yuan raised their quality to bronze/epic. He then arranged for the wind speed rapid antelope in the Spirit Lock spatial zone to bury a fire element heavenly maiden grade elemental pearl in the jade pots of the Phoenix Nirvana flowers every half a month. This would allow the 31 Phoenix Nirvana flowers to absorb fire element energy. The wind speed rapid antelope's intelligence was getting higher and higher, and its quality had also been raised to legend under the pure spirit chi's baptism. The Spirit Lock spatial zone's area was now 160 square meters, but it still couldn't allow the wind speed rapid antelope to move freely. During this time, Lin Yuan found that every time he entered the Spirit Lock spatial zone, the wind speed rapid antelope's speed toward him increased. It seemed that the wind speed rapid antelope had not eaten those wind element heavenly maiden grade elemental pearls for nothing. In terms of strength, there was already a steady increase. However, it still needed a fortuitous encounter if it wanted to evolve and improve its bloodline. After leaving the Spirit Lock spatial zone, Lin Yuan looked at the time. He found that it had been 9 days since the last celestial assembly ended. As when you had gone to the Radiance Palace to learn from Mystic Moon, she had yet to return. As usual, the celestial assembly that happened once every 7 days could only be skipped. Lin Yuan understood when you. She must have been held up by something important if she did not come back on time. She should now be at a critical stage of increasing her faction. Lin Yuan decided not to wait for her and went to the Divine Wood Federation first. After all, he still had a lot of things to do in the Divine Wood Federation. Just as Lin Yuan was about to set off for the Divine Wood Federation, Luoya, who had returned to Namu City early, stayed by the window all day looking forward. She held her phone in anticipation, waiting for Lin Yuan to contact her. After Luoya returned to the family, she immediately asked her father for 2 walnut trees. ABC. Chapter 1377. For the first 3 days, Luoya did not feel anything when Lin Yuan did not contact her. But on the 4th day, when Lin Yuan still hadn't contacted her, Luoya panicked. On the 5th and 6th day, Luoya started to suspect if Lin Yuan had seen something from her. Luoya tried hard to recall her interactions with Lin Yuan. At that time, Fu Di's sudden attack had most likely allowed him to see that Fu Di and his subordinates were not an ordinary caravan. They were a group of bandits. Did Lin Yuan discover her identity as a member of the bandits? However, she had only joined the Dry Cliff Bandits to flirt with men and not to plunder the Deep Cult Federation's merchant group's resources. Or perhaps Lin Yuan did not like her at all. The scene of Lu Jie kneeling on one knee in front of Lin Yuan shocked Luoya. Luoya could not help but examine Lin Yuan's identity. Lu Jie had used an insect-type carcinoma Fey, and it seemed like the insect-type Fey that had pulled out the Skynet was of a high grade. Such a young and powerful guard was even more imposing than the young masters of the 3-star families that Luoya had seen. It could be seen that Lin Yuan was a descendant of a hidden noble family in the Deep Cult Federation. A descendant of a hidden noble family in the Deep Cult Federation was comparable to a young master of a 4-star family in the Divine Wood Federation. After thinking about it, Luoya, who could not figure out the reason, was completely conflicted and depressed. On the 9th day, Luoya, who had always been reluctant to leave flowers behind, would unconsciously think of Lin Yuan's face when she looked out the window. She would think of such a handsome youth that she might not be able to touch for the rest of her life. Luoya could not help but feel sad, and she cried like a pear blossom in the rain. Even when her tears wet her favorite purple fur, Luoya did not care. In fact, Luoya was not the only one who was sad during these 9 days. Lin, Bei Su, Tally, and Su Yiren were even more sad. Lin, Bei Su, Tally, and Su Yiren had been looking forward to the Celestial Body Conference in 7 days. On the 7th day they fell asleep with anticipation. They were ready to go to the center of the universe for the sacred appointment. When they woke up, Lin, Bei Su, Tally, and Su Yiren were shocked to find that they had not entered the conference in the center of the universe. Their hearts tightened and they forced themselves to sleep again. But on the 8th day, the 4 of them still did not receive any guidance from the stars in their dreams. Everyone in the Azure Federation delegation on the back of the island whale knew that the 4th Azure envoy was in a bad mood. Even Lord Lan Sun's request for an audience was met with a closed door. The 10 young prodigies from the Azure Federation shrunk their necks, afraid that the 4th Azure envoy's emotions would burn them. The 10 youths were well aware of the identity of the 4th Azure envoy. The little princess of the Azure Cloud Leopard clan, one of the 12 great Azure families, and the White Lion clan, a 4-star family, had awakened the beast marks of the Azure Cloud Leopard and the White Lion clan. He was a prodigy that they could not compare to. The Azure Federation was a federation that was completely controlled by the 12 Azure aristocratic families. If he offended Lin, his identity as a member of the Azure 100 sequence might even be removed from his position as a member of the Azure 100 with just a word from Lin. Lin, who had locked herself in the room, covered her eyes with a white cloth for the first time after she regained her sight. In the darkness, Lin touched the specially made book with her hand, just to calm herself down. But when his hands turned red, he felt the long-lost prickling pain. Lin's heart still could not calm down. Lin's maidservant, Cece, was anxious. She did not understand what had happened to the young lady in the past 2 days. However, Lin's changes in the past 2 days made Cece know that she could not persuade her. Lin, who once again covered her eyes with the white cloth, understood even more how attached she was to the man who had lit up her eyes and changed her fate in the center of the resplendent stars. Even if she had become the 4th Azure envoy of the Azure Federation, she could only find security and sustenance from that man. But why didn't that man keep the appointment in 7 days? The more she thought about it, the more confused Lin became. Suddenly, Lin recalled that the man had mentioned the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce when they were discussing the deal. If she found the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce, would she be able to see that man in the Radiance Chamber of Commerce? At the thought of this, Lin pulled off the white ribbon covering her eyes. She walked out of the house and arrived directly above the floating island whale's head. Looking at the sea level, Lin's face was calm, but she was looking forward to reaching the Radiance Chamber of Commerce soon. Thinking of the conflict between the Radiance Chamber of Commerce and the Freedom Federation a few days ago, Lin's heart tightened. That man didn't keep the appointment. He couldn't have been affected by that conflict, right? 5 days later is the next 7-day appointment. Will you come for the next 7-day appointment? Bei Su, who was in the underground world, did not see the meteorological anomalies that could only be seen on the surface. However, in these 7 days Bei Su had grown a lot. Bei Su used the Sharp Shadow Dark Bat's exclusive skill, the Batfang Vampires, to pull up a team of 10. After pulling up the team of 10, Bei Su decided not to continue expanding the team for a short time. Instead, he focused on improving the strength of the 10 people in the team. Bei Su, who had consecutively leveled several Class 1 underground dimensional rifts, had really equipped a few source-type items for the team members he had pulled up. Looking at the growth of his team members, Bei Su felt a sense of accomplishment for the first time. Bei Su very much wanted to tell Lin Yuan about his results in the past 7 days. Bei Su did not ask for Lin Yuan to praise him and only hoped to share his happiness with him. To be able to prove in front of Lin Yuan that he had not let down Lin Yuan's investment and expectations. He was also useful. Lin Yuan had saved his life, allowed him to have a fei, and got rid of the curse mark, Stone Worm clone. Such a great favor could not be repaid in this life. Bei Su had always been hardworking. When he had just pulled up the team to fight against the Class 1 underground dimensional rift, it was common for him to not sleep for 3 days in a row. However, in order to not miss the Celestial Council, Bei Su slept for an entire day on the 7th day. However, Bei Su, who had not entered the Celestial Council, panicked. Unlike Lin, Bei Su did not have the ability to go to Radiance. He had the ability to talk about cooperation with Lin Yuan and the ability to find Lin Yuan in the real world. Bei Su could not do anything and could only endure silently. He gritted his teeth like a helpless little beast. During these few days, the 10 team members that Bei Su had pulled found that the usually sunny Bei Su had suddenly become silent. He was desperately cleaning up the rock worms and the newly discovered underground dimensional rifts. Even if he was exhausted and covered in blood, he still persisted in silence. It was obvious that he had something on his mind. After an unknown period of time, Bei Su fell on a rock, exhausted. In the dark environment, Bei Su's eyes were red, and he gently sniffed. He only hoped to see the man who had redeemed him again in another 5 days and to be able to join the grand event held in the Celestial Council. End of this chapter. Chapter 1378. Trey did not think too much about his failure to enter the Celestial Council. During their migration, the Iron Hoof tribe encountered a group of bronze long-eared sand foxes. The Iron Hoof tribe was trapped in the wilderness by these long-eared sand foxes. The long-eared sand fox was a very cunning wild beast species fey that liked to move in groups. Long-eared sand foxes would often choose to trap their prey within a certain range in order not to attack recklessly and injure themselves. They split up and feigned an attack to tire the prey out. Then, due to the long period of siege, the prey would enter a state of thirst and hunger, and then they would surround and kill the prey. The strongest person in the Iron Hoof tribe was Tally's grandfather. Trey's grandfather's main fey was a silver earth drilling mole. However, even if a silver pinnacle earth drilling mole was a rank higher than the long-eared sand foxes, it was impossible for it to fight against a pack of long-eared sand foxes. In the end, when Tally's grandfather was in danger, he used the Iron Hoof tribe's treasure, the earth wheel flower. With the help of the earth wheel flower's medicinal properties, the earth drilling mole successfully advanced from the peak of the silver tier to the gold tier. The gold tier burrowing mole took the initiative to attack and kill a few long-eared sand foxes. After sensing the power of the gold tier burrowing mole, the group of long-eared sand foxes had no choice but to give up their siege on the Iron Hoof tribe. In the wilderness, once a long-eared sand fox was injured, even if it wasn't treated as prey by beasts that were stronger than it, it would still be killed. Those small and bloodthirsty insect species feys would also look for the long-eared sand fox. Therefore, feys in the wilderness, even if they were hungry beasts, would do their best to ensure that they wouldn't get injured. Due to the siege of the long-eared sand foxes, Trey was unable to sleep for about 2 hours. Trey thought that he had missed the grand event at the center of the starry sky. He was unable to participate in the gathering that was held once every 7 days and was unable to receive Lin Yuan's instructions. Trey could only follow his previous agreement with Lin Yuan and continue to guide the Iron Hoof tribe to the border between the Iron Hammer Federation and the Divine Wood Federation. Moving an entire tribe was not an easy task. There were people of all ages in a tribe. The old, the young, the women, and the children moved more than twice as fast as the men in their prime. The old, the weak, the women, and the children had to rest for up to 20 minutes every hour. Previously, when the earth-drilling mole was still at the silver level, the people of the Iron Hoof tribe were somewhat worried about migrating. But now that the earth-drilling mole had advanced to the gold rank, and the Iron Hoof tribe was taking the trade route opened by the Depreme caravan. The gold-burrowing mole was enough to deal with most of the dangers on the trade route. During the migration process, Trey only hoped that the next gathering wouldn't be disturbed by Faze. Trey was not very worried that Lin Yuan would be angry about not being able to gather. In Trey's heart, the man who was surrounded by hundreds of laws and wills was as warm as a big brother. Lin, Bei Su and Tally all had their own thoughts. They were disappointed that they couldn't participate in the gathering that happened once every 7 days. However, their worries and negative emotions added together could not compare to Su Iran, who was hiding next to a trash can in an alley in the Divinewood Federation's Oak City. Zoel was originally a dark emissary chosen by the 7 nations of the Dark Gloom. None of the 7 federations on the Dark Continent could compare to the Divinewood Federation. However, when the 7 federations of the Dark Continent were combined, their strength was not much different from the Divinewood Federation, the Ironhammer Federation, and the Depreme Federation combined. In the Divinewood Federation, Zoel, who had always been at the top, tasted true helplessness and the darkness from the bottom. Zoel could not remember how many times she had been beaten in the month or so since she came to the Divinewood Federation. How many times had she struggled to survive on the verge of death? In addition to external factors, Zoel herself had to endure severe pain from the soul 7 or 8 times a day. Fortunately, when Zoel had fainted from the pain in her soul, she had chosen to dirty herself or crawl into the trash can. Otherwise, Zoel, who was in the alley, might have become someone's prey. In the past, even in a difficult situation, Zoel would not have been willing to be controlled by other organizations. Being controlled was equivalent to losing freedom. This was the reason why Zoel had not immediately joined the Celestial Council when she had first entered it. However, after deciding to join the Celestial Council and accepting Lin Yuan's request, there was not a day that Zoel did not hope that Lin Yuan could find her quickly. Lin Yuan had given Zoel, who was in despair, a daily hope. Zoel worked hard to scavenge, trying her best to survive before Lin Yuan arrived. However, the Celestial Council, which was held once every 7 days, did not convene as scheduled, making Zoel's heart fall into an ice cave. Zoel felt that the whole world had darkened and life was no longer glorious. Joining the Celestial Council was Zoel's only salvation. The Celestial Council's essence was the function of a sacred source life form, which Zoel had discovered when she had first entered the Celestial Council. Sacred source life forms were not so easy to obtain, and a faction with a sacred source life form was enough to show how powerful it was. In addition, during the Celestial Council, Lin and Lin Yuan's conversation made Zoel guess that Lin's identity was not simple. Lin, who had not previously had the aura of a sacred source life form, suddenly had the aura of a sacred source life form during the last gathering. This was enough to prove the value of the Celestial Council. Zoel had now regarded the Celestial Council, or rather Lin Yuan, as her path of salvation. Zoel had placed all her hopes on Lin Yuan and the Celestial Council. When she was sure that the Celestial Council would not convene as scheduled, Zoel even thought of death. Now, every moment of her life in the Divinewood Federation, Zoel was like a refugee. Every breath she took was filled with the smell of garbage, and it was trampling on Zoel's self-esteem. But in the end, Zoel still thought of Lin Yuan's words. As long as one is alive, there is hope. This sentence once again supported Zoel in the darkness. It gave Zoel a reason to continue persevering. Zoel tightly gripped the phone she had found and murmured, "There is still hope. Maybe I can hold on for another 7 days. The last 7 days." Thinking of this, Zoel's body suddenly trembled. The intense pain in her soul caused Zoiran to faint. In the Return from Faraway Manor, the mother of Bloodbath, who had been in a room with complicated feelings, learned that Lin Yuan was going to the Divinewood Federation. It immediately expressed that it would go with Lin Yuan to the Divinewood Federation and protect his safety during the training. However, after some consideration, Lin Yuan finally rejected the mother of Bloodbath. Lin Yuan said seriously to the mother of Bloodbath, "Mother of Bloodbath, your family will definitely go to Radiance to find you." End of chapter. Chapter 1379. During this period of time, your parents came to the Radiance Federation, but you were with me in the Divinewood Federation. Your parents will be worried because they can't find you. Moreover, with Lu Jie following me to the Divinewood Federation, I won't be in any danger. If we really encounter danger, I will summon the killer butterfly at any time. The mother of Bloodbath knew that every word Lin Yuan said was for its sake. However, the mother of Bloodbath was not happy at all. As Lin Yuan's path protector, it would be a dereliction of duty if he could not accompany Lin Yuan when he went out to train. She recalled how Lin Yuan had used a sacred source life form to lower his temperature. The mother of Bloodbath knew that Lin Yuan was not much weaker than it. Lin Yuan could already protect himself. This made the mother of Bloodbath suddenly feel that it was very, very far away from Lin Yuan. Moreover, this feeling continued to grow stronger and stronger. The feelings of Faze had always been simple, let alone a female spider's yearning. Just as the sea of bitterness in the mother of Bloodbath's heart was about to ripple, he gently placed his hand on the mother of Bloodbath's shoulder. When Lin Yuan saw the mother of Bloodbath's expression, he thought it was still thinking about why its parents had abandoned it. Lin Yuan could not comfort her too much about such things. He could only wait for the mother of Bloodbath to meet his family before all the knots in his heart could be resolved. Lin Yuan gently patted the mother of Bloodbath's shoulder and then brushed the hair on its shoulder to the back of its head. Given your parents' strength, they should be able to reach the Hui Yao sect within a month. If you're really bored during this month, why don't you just organize an event and find a group of friends who get along with you to host a food festival together? Upon hearing that, the mother of Bloodbath's heart warmed. From Lin Yuan's eyes, the mother of Bloodbath could see that he cared for it from the bottom of his heart. Lin Yuan's concern was like a spring breeze, brushing away the sea of bitterness in the mother of Bloodbath's heart and making its feelings tremble slightly. The more it trembled, the more the mother of Bloodbath's feelings solidified. The mother of Bloodbath broke into a smile, stunning Lin Yuan. The mother of Bloodbath, which usually had a cold expression, suddenly smiled. Its red eyes were bright and its red lips were curled up. It was extremely beautiful. It was like a peony that had suddenly been dyed in color, exceptionally stunning. The mother of Bloodbath said, Lin Yuan, how can you bring Lu Jie alone to the Divine Wood Federation? Ji Feng has been guarding the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce during this period of time, so it's not convenient for him to show up. Why don't you bring him to the Divine Wood Federation? With Ji Feng around, we can take care of each other if we encounter any danger. The killer butterfly is guarding the swamp world. It won't be good if it encounters danger in the swamp world when you summon it. I'll be heading over to the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce during this period. I can use the Sacred Source Lifeform Essence contract you gave me. After that, I'll familiarize myself with the changes in my abilities after transforming into a favored spirit. When Lin Yuan heard the mother of Bloodbath's words, he suddenly realized that he had neglected Ji Feng during this period. In the Radiance Federation, especially in the royal capital, it was inconvenient for Ji Feng to show his face anywhere. However, once they left the Radiance Federation and the Whale Ocean's 10,000 Flags lineage's sphere of influence, they would not be able to escape. Ji Feng could move freely now. The mother of Bloodbath could no longer be bothered with its family and focus on the Sacred Source Lifeform's essence contract to increase its strength. In Lin Yuan's opinion, it couldn't be any better. Lin Yuan smiled at the mother of Bloodbath. Mother of Bloodbath, show me what your Sacred Source Lifeform is the next time I come back. I'll prepare the resources to raise the Sacred Source Lifeform's star grade. When the mother of Bloodbath heard Lin Yuan's words, it suddenly felt as though it was looking at the C-rank spirit chi professional who had just arrived at the Radiant Moon Palace. In half a year, this youth had experienced more things than others in a lifetime, but he was still the same. Lin Yuan's temperament hadn't changed, causing the mother of Bloodbath to suddenly have an impulse. It wanted to hug this youth in front of it without caring about anything else. In the end, the mother of Bloodbath's rationality stopped its impulse. I want to run to you without caring about anything. But compared to you, I'm not good enough. The mother of Bloodbath, which had just transformed into a favored spirit and reached Myth 3, suddenly felt pressure in its heart. The mother of Bloodbath had never been a lazy fae. However, the mother of Bloodbath knew that if it wanted to rush to Lin Yuan, it would need to work harder. When he went to the Divine Wood Federation this time, he took out the floating silver from the underground space's wall. He also chose 8 spirit craftsmen from the manor that Hu Quan had appointed. Ji Feng and Lu Jie, who had rushed back to the return from faraway manor from the Listening Heron Chamber of Commerce with the 8 spirit craftsmen in the Treasure Cave Golden Cicada artifact, crossed the spatial tunnel, and went straight to the Divine Wood Federation. After returning to the Divine Wood Federation again, Lin Yuan recovered from the nauseating dizziness. He was stunned by the scene in front of him. When Lin Yuan had left, the Divine Wood Federation's underground palace had just been excavated. The surrounding walls were all covered in dust. But now, this huge underground palace had been built with steel plates as a framework and divided into different areas. As Hu Quan drew the blueprint, he commanded his spirit craftsmen to supervise the dry cliff bandit spies and transport the ironwood powder. Hu Tianzheng commanded his main Fei, the Terraclaw rock bear, to use the heavy rock law and condense the ironwood sand into a rock slab. Upon seeing Lin Yuan appear, Hu Quan hurriedly walked over excitedly and asked him, "Lin Yuan, have you found the spatial soft silver? Now, I just need enough spatial soft silver to be buried in the radium-uranium steel walls. Then I can lay the rock slabs that Hu Tian has condensed in the past few days on the walls and then carve the walls. Because of your idea of the forbidden area, I plan to carve the bone lotus flower that the six-winged demon spawned on the walls of the underground palace. In the sea of bone lotus flowers, carve the maps of the Divine Wood Federation, the Iron Hammer Federation, and the Deep Lush Federation. Let the entire underground palace's walls form a set of murals. What do you think of the Bone Lotus World Annihilation Catalog?" Lin Yuan did not want to give too many opinions on Hu Quan's design ideas. He would just let Hu Quan do as he pleased. Although Lin Yuan did not want to give any opinions on the design, he still had to give his opinions on the function. He had communicated with Tally in the Celestial Council previously. Lin Yuan planned to let Tally apply to the Iron Hammer Imperial Court to confer the land at the junction of the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation as the Iron Hoof Tribe's private territory. Then he would let the Iron Hoof Tribe build a city in this area. Through the geographical location, he would grab the throats of the Divine Wood Federation and the Iron Hammer Federation. If he wanted to build a city in this kind of place where chickens did not lay eggs and attract people there. In addition to the forbidden area shrouded in fog all day, there were other more attractive things. ABC. Chapter 1380. It was the most scarce resource in the agro-pattern continent, the Creation Master resource. Therefore, in the underground palace there had to be a few breeding rooms. I've already dealt with the floating silver. I'll give it to you in 2 days. I have always trusted Uncle Hu's designs. However, when Uncle Hu is constructing the underground palace, I hope to divide a region to be the Creation Master's breeding room. Uncle Hu's murals might as well be inlaid with some completely jade-textured wood. At that time, I will place a few Reflection Sun King lotuses and plant phase that can release spirit chi in the underground palace. This will ensure that the underground palace is always in a bright state. The fragrance of the completely jade-textured wood can also cover up the earthy smell rising from the ground. Upon hearing that, Hu Quan's eyes lit up. Hu Quan especially liked Lin Yuan's design concept of fusing phase and design together. This kind of design concept was what Hu Quan lacked. Plant species phase that could release large amounts of spirit chi had always been precious. As a spirit craftsman, Hu Quan could not casually add such precious items into the design. When Hu Tian, who was commanding the Terraclaw rock bears to form the rock slabs, saw that Lin Yuan had arrived, he had been looking for an opportunity to talk to him. However, Lin Yuan had been chatting with Hu Quan since the beginning. Hu Tian didn't have a suitable opportunity to talk to Lin Yuan. While Hu Quan listened to Lin Yuan's words and began to draw the place where the completely jade-textured wood was inlaid on the design, Hu Tian took small steps forward. He said to Lin Yuan, "Lord Lin Yuan, I didn't dare to close my eyes during these 6 days because I wanted to let you see the changes in the underground palace. In the past 6 days, I've taken out almost all the stone slabs needed for this underground palace." Upon hearing Hu Tian's words, Lin Yuan immediately knew what Hu Tian was thinking. Hu Tian was trying to claim credit from him. Before Lin Yuan could say anything, Hu Quan had already glanced at Hu Tian and said in dissatisfaction, "You're right. What do you mean you've already built all the rock slabs needed for the underground palace? If I didn't keep an eye on you, would you be so hardworking? Also, who told you that the underground palace only has 1 floor? After the construction of the first floor is completed, as long as Lin Yuan wishes, he can also build the second and third floors to increase the underground palace's functionality. You've only worked for 6 days and you're already in such a rush to show off. Do you want to ask for some benefits?" The Zheng family was destroyed by Sky City. As a servant of Sky City, shouldn't you be doing your job? Over the past few days, Hu Quan had become increasingly dissatisfied with Hu Tian, who shared the same surname as him. This was because Hu Quan could clearly sense Hu Tian's purpose in doing things. Commanding the Terraclaw rock bears to use the heavy rock world to create rock slabs was a very easy task. But Hu Tian looked very tired. Was Hu Tian using a myth breed Fei as a platinum Fei? Hu Tian was doing this to show off in front of him and then use him to let Lin Yuan know of Hu Tian's efforts. A spirit craftsman was a job with a conscience, and Hu Quan's greatest taboo was people who played tricks and claimed credit. Hu Tian had both of these points. Therefore, when Hu Tian claimed credit to Lin Yuan, Hu Quan mercilessly exposed Hu Tian's trick. Hu Quan's words made Hu Tian, who was smiling and thought that he would be able to get Lin Yuan's reward smoothly, feel awkward on the spot. In the Radiance Federation, Class 5 spirit craftsmen were extremely sought after by veteran factions and top factions. After all, the furniture, decorations and artifacts made by Class 5 spirit craftsmen could show their status. Although there were fewer Class 5 spirit craftsmen than Class 4 creation masters, there were still many Class 4 creation masters. A Class 4 creation master's status was still higher than a Class 5 spirit craftsman's. Hu Tian had deliberately shown off in front of Hu Quan because Hu Quan was very valued by Lin Yuan. In fact, Hu Tian did not think much of Hu Quan. In Hu Tian's opinion, he and Hu Quan were both working under Lin Yuan. Given his identity as a Class 4 creation master, Hu Quan had no reason to offend him. However, Hu Tian's little plan had obviously failed. Hu Quan did not care about Hu Tian's opinion at all and did not give him any face. This was because Hu Quan did not simply regard himself as a member of Sky City's faction. Due to his contact with Lin Yuan, Hu Quan, who had no children after his parents passed away, had already regarded Lin Yuan as family. Hu Quan did not want Lin Yuan to be deceived by Hu Tian. Hu Quan knew that once Hu Tian succeeded in deceiving Lin Yuan the first time, it would only become worse in the future. Looking at Lin Yuan's faint smile, Hu Tian thought of Lin Yuan's means in the Zheng family's reception room. He could not help but feel terrified. Hu Tian hurriedly said to Lin Yuan while trembling, "Lord Lin Yuan, I have no intention of claiming credit. I'm your servant. Whatever you ask me to do is what I should do. I'm your servant. Whatever you ask me to do is what I should do. Uncle Hu Tian will continue to be used by you here." Lin Yuan ignored Hu Tian and turned to speak to Hu Quan. "I only brought 8 spirit craftsmen this time. With Hu Tian helping to make the rock slabs, you don't have to use a little bit of iron grinding wood to burn the rock slabs." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Hu Quan looked at Hu Tian in disdain and nodded. "Lin Yuan, I won't be polite with Hu Tian. If you want to carve murals in the underground palace, you need to lay at least 2 layers of rock slabs to have the 3-dimensional feeling of carvings. If you have enough floating soft silver, I advocate that you also lay another layer of floating soft silver threads. This way you can better isolate it from the outside world's detection." Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan replied with a smile. "Uncle Hu, there will be enough floating soft silver in the future." Then Lin Yuan looked at the trembling Hu Tian and said solemnly, "If you want a reward, sure. If you want a reward, sure. I'm never stingy with rewards for loyal people. However, I've always only given rewards to people with meritorious service. When will you be under Uncle Hu's command and satisfy him? When will I give you 5 Earth Element Heavenly Maiden Grade Elemental Pearls?" After saying that, Lin Yuan took out the treasured artifacts made from the treasure cave golden cicada skin and stomach sack and released Lu Jie Ji Feng and the 8 spirit craftsmen. "I've been using a book-chasing app recently. Cache books and read them offline." After the 8 spirit craftsmen were released, Hu Quan immediately arranged for them to work. Lu Jie looked at the underground palace in front of him and was secretly surprised by the progress of the construction. Lu Jie walked to Hu Quan's side and handed him a diamond face storage box. "Uncle Hu, these are the dishes I cooked for you. They're all your favorite dishes. I've put these ingredients in food boxes made of spirit-nurturing wood. I've made about 15 days' worth, enough for you to eat until the next time I come over." Spirit-nurturing wood was a kind of very functional wood, and its greatest function was to keep fresh. The Spirit Food Pavilion would use food boxes made of spirit-nurturing wood to transport dishes. Lu Jie's food boxes were given to him by Zhen Lai when he was a guest. Hu Quan took the diamond face storage box from Lu Jie and said with a smile, "It's already my pleasure to design and build an underground palace. It's simply a pleasure to be able to eat your cooking on such a pleasure. To be able to eat your cooking on such a joyous occasion, it's really a blessing on top of a blessing." ABC. Chapter 1381. At this point, Hu Quan paused for a moment, then continued to speak. "Lu Jie, it's more important for you to improve your strength at this age. You don't have to specially prepare food for me the next time you come. When you guys come, I'll eat some of your roasted meat to satisfy my craving. Otherwise, your cooking is so delicious and I can't control my appetite. If I eat too much and get sleepy, it will affect the construction of the underground palace. Lu Jie shook his head at Hu Quan's words. Uncle Hu, it's no trouble. I made these dishes when I returned to the manor to cook. It won't take up much time. Uncle Hu just said that double happiness is better than one happiness. Lu Jie knew that Hu Quan was afraid of wasting his time. Lu Jie was not a person who was good at expressing his feelings. He would not say anything nice to people close to him. They would only move silently. However, Lu Jie did not know that Hu Quan had already understood his intentions. Hu Quan hated eating pig liver the most, but he loved eating lamb offal, beef offal, and the like. Normally, no one in the manor liked to eat these things. It was obviously impossible for Lu Jie to say that he had done it in passing. Ji Feng had not seen Lin Yuan for some time. Back at the return from faraway mansion, Ji Feng had not had the time to talk to Lin Yuan because he had been in a hurry to set off. A week ago, Ji Feng's Karma Sword Orchid had predicted that the Mother of Bloodbath had an ominous sign. Before Ji Feng could call and tell Lin Yuan, the Karma Sword Orchid predicted that the Mother of Bloodbath would turn misfortune into fortune. Turning misfortunes into blessings was the most wonderful omen. Evil in front, good in the back. Once the misfortune didn't happen, there wouldn't be any good fortune after that. It was precisely because of this that Ji Feng didn't tell Lin Yuan about his prediction. He was afraid that the Mother of Bloodbath would miss the opportunity to avoid the ominous omen. In addition to the Mother of Bloodbath's prediction, Ji Feng's Karma Gladiolus had also predicted that something big would happen to Lin Yuan. This matter was so grave that even with Ji Feng's Karma Sword Orchid strength, he was no longer able to determine whether it was good or bad. This made Ji Feng worry about Lin Yuan. However, Ji Feng was afraid that he would tell Lin Yuan about this prediction that he could not distinguish between good and bad. This would make him hesitate about the path he was going to take next. After some consideration, Ji Feng finally decided to tell Lin Yuan about this matter. This matter was so big that it was impossible to tell if it was good or bad. If it was good, then everything would be fine. However, if it was the culprit, this matter might very well threaten his life. Therefore, Ji Feng couldn't care less. Ji Feng called Lin Yuan to the side and softly told him about the prediction. Upon hearing Ji Feng's words, Lin Yuan's pupils contracted. However, Lin Yuan's face did not reveal a worried or fearful expression. Lin Yuan was no longer the sickly person he had been in the Xia region. He was now confident that he could face any challenge. Even if he encountered real danger, he would not lack helpers. Currently, Lin Yuan's strongest helper was Bai Yan, who had returned to the swamp world to guard the territory. After the battle with the Shark Ray, Lin Yuan confirmed that Bai Yan had the strongest combat power under the Eternal Realm with his amplification. On the sea, Bai Yan could subdue the Sea Emperor at the peak of Immortal Realm with the Immortal Body. Ordinary peak Immortal Realm spirit beasts couldn't have such power. Apart from Bai Yan, Lin Yuan also brought the extreme token that his master, the Moon Empress, had prepared for him. These were Lin Yuan's guarantees. As the saying goes, counter soldiers with arms and water with earth. Lin Yuan was confident that he could face any challenge. Regardless of whether it was good or bad, Lin Yuan had to walk the path ahead steadily. Looking at Lin Yuan's expression, Ji Feng knew that Lin Yuan wasn't worried or hesitant because of his prediction. Only then did Ji Feng feel relieved. At that moment, Lin Yuan was prepared to go outside the underground palace and take a look. He wanted to see what extent the sea of white bone lotuses that Silver Essence had nurtured had reached. As soon as he left the underground palace, Lin Yuan immediately received the surprise that Silver Essence brought. When Lin Yuan left, the sea of white bone lotuses was only the size of a football field. Now, the sea of white bone lotuses was at least 10 times larger than before. The sea of flowers spread toward the Iron Hammer Federation's border according to Lin Yuan's previous plan. The Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift that Lin Yuan had opened through the space-shattering stone cave was still constantly dropping alien insects. However, when these alien insects fell into the sea of white bone lotuses, they simply couldn't cause any waves. They were completely devoured by those agile and cruel white bone lotuses. At that moment, Lin Yuan saw the Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift suddenly spit out a green chubby alien insect. Lin Yuan actually recognized this alien insect. It was called the acid corrosion tapeworm. The acid corrosion tapeworm relied on the acid in its abdomen to fight against enemies, and it was considered a Class 3 alien insect with a relatively weak defense. However, no matter how weak the acid corrosion tapeworm's defense was, it was still a Class 3 alien insect. In the sea of white bone lotuses, before the acid corrosion tapeworm could struggle, a large number of insect patterns turned into bone insects that crawled all over its body. These bone insects easily bit through the acid corrosion tapeworm's skin and burrowed into its body. The acid corrosion tapeworm immediately hissed in pain. A large amount of acid gushed out of the acid corrosion tapeworm's body, corroding most of the nearby white bone lotuses. At that moment, a shadow holding a white bone scythe suddenly appeared beside the acid corrosion tapeworm. This shadow waved the white bone scythe in its hand and ruthlessly slashed at the acid corrosion tapeworm's body like a ghost. With just one strike, a large wound that was about 1 meter long appeared on the acid corrosion tapeworm's back. The 1 meter long wound on the acid corrosion sackworm's body that was cut by the white bone scythe instantly spurted out green acid. Before the acid could land on the shadow holding the white bone scythe, the shadow silently melted into the white fog. Just as the acid corrosion tapeworm's 2 bean-sized eyes were wondering why the enemy had suddenly disappeared, the shadow holding the white bone scythe reappeared above the acid corrosion tapeworm's head. The shadow held the white bone scythe and slashed down, and the half-meter-long scythe blade pierced into the insect's brain. It instantly took the acid corrosion tapeworm's life. Upon seeing the shadow holding the white bone scythe, Lin Yuan immediately thought that this should be Silver Splendor's exclusive skill, Hidden Dead Servant. It had been born when the Sea of Flowers was slaughtering a large number of alien insects. When Lin Yuan had left, Silver Splendor had only been a Bronze 3/Elite fairy. In just 5 days, Silver Splendor had evolved from Bronze 3/Elite to Bronze 6/Flawless. Such an improvement speed was enough to show that Silver Splendor was still a Carcinoma Fae that was adept at expansion and destruction. The Hidden Dead Servant was an existence that would become stronger the more souls it devoured. This was obviously not the Hidden Dead Servant's strongest state. However, the Hidden Dead Servant was already able to kill Class 3 alien insects when Silver Splendor was at Bronze. It was hard for Lin Yuan to imagine how terrifying the Hidden Dead Servant would become after absorbing a large number of souls. It was hard for Lin Yuan to imagine how terrifying the Hidden Dead Servant would become after absorbing a large number of souls in the bone powder fog. ABC. Chapter 1382. Moreover, Silver Flower's exclusive skill could not only produce 1 Hermit Dead Servant, but 36 of them. These Hermit Undead Servants could hide themselves or suddenly materialize themselves in the white bone mist. They were like invisible assassins hidden in the mist. When Lin Yuan had left, the white bone lotus flower mist had drifted above the sea of white bone lotus flowers. It could not completely block Lin Yuan's vision. But now there was a faint layer of gray fog hidden within the white bone fog. This gray mist should be the Hermit Mist that was born after the Hermit Dead Servants appeared. When the 36 Hermit Dead Servants were born from the sea of white bone lotus flowers, Silver Flower could easily kill the 100-man team that infiltrated the forbidden area. Without using the white bone lotus flowers, Silver Flower could easily kill the 100-man team that infiltrated the forbidden area. Silver Flower had discovered Lin Yuan's existence when he had walked out of the underground palace. She had deliberately sent the Hermit Dead Servants to kill the acid corrosion tapeworms. She had not seen Lin Yuan for a few days and missed him very much. Therefore Yin Hua had shown him her growth over the past few days as soon as they met. Lu Jie and Ji Feng had also walked out of the underground palace. Lu Jie looked at the white bone lotus flower situation and then at the Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift before suggesting to Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan, Silver Flower's grade is not high now. However, a Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift will no longer give Silver Splendor any pressure. Given the Sea of Flowers' current area, even if a few more Class 1 dimensional rifts are opened, the Silver Splendor will be able to handle it. Lin Yuan looked at Silver Flower, who had landed on his shoulder and was rubbing her face against his neck. Lin Yuan touched Silver Flower's silver hair, held her in his palm and asked Silver Flower. Silver Flower, if I open another dimensional rift like this, can you handle 2 of them? Yin Hua replied to Lin Yuan confidently. Lin Yuan, including this, even if you open another 3-dimensional rifts of similar size, I will still be able to withstand it. Recently, I have focused on letting 2,000 white bone lotus flowers absorb the vitality of these dimensional life forms. These 2,000 white bone lotus flowers have absorbed more than 50% of the vitality of the entire Sea of Flowers, making them abnormally tough and strong. After testing, these bone lotuses that I specially cultivated can already hold Class 3 alien insects in place. Upon hearing that, Lin Yuan gently shook his head. The next time he opened another dimensional rift, he could not guarantee that it would be an alien insect dimensional rift. Be it the swamp dimensional rift, the underground dimensional rift, or the Abyss Dimensional Rift. Secondary dimensional lifeforms' average individual strength was higher than the alien insect dimensional rift. However, Lin Yuan did not discourage Silverflower. Silverflower, who had transformed from a plant-type carcinoma Fae into a demon-type source-type lifeform, needed to grow and expand her knowledge. Lin Yuan stepped into the sea of flowers. After Lin Yuan stepped into the sea of flowers, these bone lotus flowers did not attack him. Instead, they gently swayed beside him. It was as if they were welcoming their master into a paradise made of white bones. Lin Yuan found a location far away from the Class 1 alien insect dimensional rift. He took out the void-shattering rock and planned to tear open another Class 1 dimensional rift. Under Lin Yuan's control, the Class 1 dimensional rift opened up. This time, Lin Yuan had used the void-shattering rock to open an underground dimensional rift. Just as a large number of crypt lifeforms surged out, they were immediately entangled, sucked, and torn into pieces by the bone lotus flowers. Soon, the first Class 3 underground dimensional lifeform emerged from the Class 1 underground dimensional rift. It was a gargoyle. When the gargoyle emerged from the underground dimensional rift, it saw that the bone lotus flowers were preparing to entangle it and quickly flew into the sky. However, no matter how high the gargoyle flew, it was still within the range of the bone mist. Silverflower looked at this Class 3 gargoyle, and her eyes flashed with a silver radiance. Immediately after, the bone mist started to flow. The moment the bone mist flowed, the greenish-gray gargoyle's body turned white. At that moment, this Class 3 gargoyle was covered in bone worms. These bone worms used their sharp mouthparts to tear at the gargoyle's skin. No matter how hard the gargoyle flapped its wings, it was unable to successfully shake off these bone worms that were already nailed to its body. As long as the gargoyle was not stupid, it would not dare to land on the ground and use its wings to beat the ground. It would even use its body to smash against the rocks to kill the bone worms on its body. Right now, the ground was filled with bone lotus flowers that were eyeing the gargoyle covetously. Once the Class 3 gargoyle landed on the ground, it would be entangled by these bone lotus flowers that were specially enhanced by Silverflower, and it would no longer be able to fly. Finally, under Lin Yuan's watchful eyes, this Class 3 gargoyle was forcefully gnawed into pieces by the bone worms. Only the hard gargoyle's heart was left in the sea of bone lotus flowers. This gargoyle's heart was quickly transported by Yinhua's bone lotus flowers to the place where Yinhua specially hid her treasures. Since Yinhua was able to deal with dimensional lifeforms with high defense like the gargoyle, even if she opened up the Abyss Dimensional Rift and the Horn Demon, which had the strongest single combat strength among Class 3 dimensional lifeforms, came out, with a certain amount of bone lotus flowers, Yinhua would be able to exhaust the Horn Demon to death. Lin Yuan decided to respect Yinhua's words and used the void-shattering rocks to open up 2 more Class 1 dimensional rifts in the sea of bone lotus flowers. As a result, one of the 2 Class 1 dimensional rifts was a swamp dimensional rift, while the other was an abyss dimensional rift. The 4 dimensional rifts that had opened up on land were all gathered in the sea of bone lotus flowers. Yinhua no longer had the energy to continue acting like a spoiled child in front of Lin Yuan when facing the alien beast tide that gushed out from the 4 Class 1 dimensional rifts. Yinhua arrived at the center of the sea of bone lotus flowers and tried her best to control the bone lotus flowers to wear down the dimensional lifeforms that gushed out from the 4-dimensional rifts. Whenever a Class 3-dimensional lifeform gushed out from a Class 1-dimensional rift, Yinhua would immediately arrange for her hermit undead servants to harvest it. She was afraid that Yinhua wouldn't be able to deal with multiple Class 3-dimensional lifeforms at once. Lu Jie asked the insect queen to produce 2 Diamond X flesh-mincing blade insects to take care of Yinhua in the Sea of Flowers. As Lu Jie had previously seen Yinhua's Sea of Bone Lotus Flowers, he was surprised by the speed of the Sea of Bone Lotus Flowers development. However, it wasn't that shocking. Ji Feng, who had followed Lin Yuan to the Divine Wood Federation for the first time, was completely stunned by the scene before him. As the young family head of the Whale Ocean Trade's Ocean Sky lineage, Ji Feng was experienced and knowledgeable. However, he had never seen a tumor fae that lived purely on slaughter transform into a fairy source-type life form. Furthermore, this fairy that wasn't even at the silver grade was a 6-winged fairy. Ji Feng had been on the run for 10 years. At this moment, he suddenly suspected that the current Fey world was no longer the Fey world that he had known 10 years ago. ABC. Chapter 1384. Ji Feng and Lu Jie naturally had no objections to Lin Yuan's words. They had come to the Divine Wood Federation to protect Lin Yuan. In the Divine Wood Federation no one knew him. He did not need to hide his identity at all. Lin Yuan waved his hand and summoned Blackie, which was rarely summoned in front of outsiders in the Radiance Federation. After Blackie was summoned, it happily circled a few times in the air. Then he landed beside Lin Yuan and said in a gentle voice, "You're right. Lin Yuan, you became smaller again." Lin Yuan looked at Blackie helplessly. In any case, every time he encountered Blackie, he would always be told that it had become smaller. After some time, Lin Yuan had gotten used to it. The diamond/fantasy breed Blackie was nearly 100 meters long, even though it was a support-type Fae. However, Blackie's pure-blooded flood dragon species Fae's aura made the other Faes in this forest shrink their necks in fear. Who would have thought that the dragon eye spirit siphon goldfish that only knew how to spit bubbles in the pond? It was a spirit-tied dark flood dragon that could transform into a pure-blooded WRM species Fae. Lu Jie and Ji Feng were no strangers to Blackie, who had been chasing after the rainbow celestial fish in the hidden dragon lake all day long. The duo followed Lin Yuan and rode on Blackie's back as they headed for Namu City. When Lu Jie was with Lin Yuan, he always took the initiative to undertake the investigation. Lu Jie, who had just sat on Little Black's back, summoned the Insect Queen. Then he ordered the Insect Queen to release the Dimensional Light Moth. The Insect Queen entered the Dimensional Light Moth's body and created a large number of Hurricane Owlet moths. The Insect Queen could now skillfully control the inscription and absorb the insect species Fae's genetic model. This time, the Insect Queen had spawned nearly 100 Hurricane Owlet moths, all of which had large wings. Wings that were twice the size of normal ones allowed the Hurricane Owlet moth to fly faster. After these Dimensional Light Moths were created by the Insect Queen, Lu Jie did not let them fly away immediately. Instead, he took out a handful of red tentacles and gave them to each Hurricane Owlet moth. These tentacles were the node tentacles shed by the ethereal jellyfish. Lin Yuan had given these node tentacles to Lu Jie a long time ago. It was impossible for him to spend a lot of time traveling in the Divinewood Federation. Even though Blackie was a diamond/fantasy breed Fae and had an extremely fast flying speed, it was still unable to catch up to Blackie. Therefore, the Underground Palace, Namu City, and Oak City were the areas that he would be going back and forth between in the future. It was necessary to set up the node tentacles. Lu Jie had ordered the Insect Queen to produce nearly 100 Hurricane Owlet moths in one go, which consumed a lot of his spiritual energy. At this moment, Lu Jie's face had already turned slightly pale. The Hurricane Owlet moth was the Insect Queen's platinum skill. The consumption of the Insect Queen to produce the Hurricane Owlet moths was more than 10 times that of producing a flesh-mincing blade insect. Without needing Lu Jie to say anything, Blackie, who was happily flying in the sky, had already thoughtfully used spirit injection on Lu Jie. After injecting spiritual energy into his body, Lu Jie quickly recovered the spiritual energy that he had just consumed. Through his spiritual energy connection with Blackie, Lin Yuan could feel its excitement and happiness. When Little Black was in the Return from Faraway Manor, its range of activity was limited to the Hidden Dragon Lake. No matter how beautiful the Hidden Dragon Lake was, it still couldn't compare to nature. He reached out and gently stroked Blackie's mane. He suddenly recalled that it had been a long time since he had relied on Faes to fight. In the world of Beast Masters, controlling Faes was the foundation of everything. He wanted to find the long-lost feeling of being a beast tamer in the Divinewood Federation. At that moment, Lin Yuan, who was on Little Black's back, had already seen the town that Lu Jie had previously explored. Looking down at this town, Lin Yuan felt that it was more like a town. It was not that this was a slightly larger village. In Redbud City, the Xia region was considered a relatively small county. The Millstone Town at the edge of Ascending Dragon City was the place with the worst infrastructure in the Radiance Federation. However, be it the Xia region or Millstone Town, they were much stronger than this town. When Lin Yuan had talked to Luoya and the Dry Cliff Bandits, he had asked her a lot of questions. In the Divinewood Federation, flying Faes could fly directly above cities. Of course, there was a considerable risk in riding a flying-type Fae to fly above the city. If someone in the city who was stronger than you found you an eyesore and attacked you, you wouldn't be able to escape. In that case, they could only rely on their own abilities. In this small town, naturally no one was a match for Little Black. Lin Yuan rode on Little Black and flew above the town. When the 100-meter-long Little Black passed by the town, it let out a dragon roar. The dragon roar was loud and dignified. Little Black's dragon roar attracted the attention of almost everyone in the town. What surprised Lin Yuan was that these spirit chi professionals and ordinary people wearing spirit chi clothes woven with leaves or rattan armor didn't show intense fear when they saw Little Black. After confirming that Little Black didn't have any intention to attack, these people put their palms together and prayed. Some took out their cell phones and wanted to take a video of Little Black. Upon seeing this scene, Lin Yuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. From this point, it could be seen that the people in the town had never seen such a mighty and handsome dragon species Fae like Little Black before. When encountering a powerful Fae, an ordinary person's subconscious reaction would be to avoid danger. However, the spirit chi professionals living in this town didn't do so. This was enough to show that the Divine Wood Federation's spirit chi professionals were very strong or ignorant. In such a small town, there definitely wouldn't be a Class 1 creation master. At most, there would be 1 or 2 healers who could treat injuries. This town's knowledge reserve was at an extremely low level. Using this town as an example, it was enough to see the gap between the Divine Wood Federation and the Radiance Federation. The main reason for the gap was that the Freedom Federation wanted to bet a Class 5 Creation Master path with the Radiance Federation on Star Web. Every citizen of the Radiance Federation could freely log on to Star Web through the Star Web card. Star Web allowed any Radiance citizen to have a clear understanding of the outside world. Books below Class 3 Lifestyle Class Spirit Chi professionals could be traded on Star Web with Federation dollars. This allowed the Radiance Federation's citizens' knowledge reserve to be in a very high state. The combination of Star Web and Ostrich logistics allowed goods produced anywhere in the Radiance continent. They could reach the hands of the Radiance Federation's citizens within 3 hours. Star Web allowed the Radiance Federation to maintain a highly modern civilization in the Spirit Chi Awakening era. Now, this town in the Divine Wood Federation made Lin Yuan understand what kind of life was the normal life of the people in the Radiance Federation's outer world. In the Radiance Federation because of Star Web. If someone took out a Fae that wasn't produced in the Radiance Federation, it would be easily recognized by the Radiance Federation's creation masters. End of this chapter. Chapter 1385. However, the Divine Wood Federation's creation masters obviously couldn't do this. Due to the lack of knowledge in front of the Divine Wood Federation's creation masters, the Divine Wood Federation's creation masters wouldn't be able to defeat them. The Divine Wood Federation's creation masters wouldn't be surprised if they took out any Faes. Lin Yuan was on Black's back, enjoying the cool breeze as he looked down at the vast forest below. In this federation where strength is everything, the strong are as noble as gods and the weak are as lowly as ants. Everyone has to follow the most primitive law of the jungle, and I, an outsider, am no exception. Here, fists were reason, and reasoning with words could only be regarded as a joke. Lu Jie knew that Lin Yuan was going to Namu City to find Luoya to trade for the walnut tree. However, from the first time he saw Luoya and saw the way she stared at him, he could not help but feel a chill run down his spine. Lu Jie couldn't help but be wary of Luoya. When Luoya looked at him, her eyes seemed to have several sharp hooks. These sharp hooks wanted to hook him and drag him into a fallen world. Lin Yuan was only 18 years old and didn't know much about the matters between men and women. As Lin Yuan's retainer knight, he would never allow a woman like Luoya to sully Lin Yuan. Lu Jie decided that he would follow Lin Yuan wherever he went in Namu City. He could not give Luoya and Lin Yuan a chance to be alone. Xiao He had already been flying for a few hours, and it wouldn't take long for him to reach Namu City. He took out his cell phone, found the note that Luoya had handed him, and dialed her number. In a large mansion in the southern part of Namu City, a short-haired middle-aged man was looking at a woman who was holding a phone in her hand with a displeased expression. She had a despondent look on her face. Seeing that the woman didn't listen to his words at all, the short-haired man fiercely put down the 2 red jade-like walnuts in his hand and said, "Xiaoya, are you even listening to me? The Huang family has already sent people to visit you several times. You were young and liked to play, so I can follow you. Now you're old enough to talk about marriage. The Huang family is the same as our Luo family, a 2-star family. Huang Yu is the son of the Huang family's patriarch Huang Zhan. Other than Huang Yu, there are no other males in the Huang family. You will marry into the Huang family. When Huang Yu takes over Huang Zhan's position, you will be the matriarch of the Huang family. Father isn't forcing you to marry Huang Yu. It's not like you have to marry the Huang clan. But Huang Yu has always liked you. You should try getting along with Huang Yu first. After we get to know each other, if you really don't like me, you can tell me. I can help you reject the marriage." This wasn't the first time he talked about marriage with Roya. It was just that Roya rejected him previously because she hadn't had enough fun and didn't want to stop so early. The people of the Divine Wood Federation were open, and Luoya felt that there was nothing shameful about what she had done before. But after getting married, he could no longer indulge himself like before. But now, it was no longer because she hadn't had enough fun. A few days ago, Luoya had already calmed down. Luoya's mind was now filled with only Lin Yuan. After seeing how outstanding that person was, Luoya didn't even put Huang Yu in her eyes, not to mention marrying him. Seeing how her father was earnestly persuading her, Luoya placed the phone on the table and said, "Father, you have been recommending those 3 clans to me for so many years. Father, you have been recommending those 3 clans to me for so many years because our Luo clan's overall strength is the weakest among the 4 Class 2 Creation Master clans in Namu City. But our Luo family is a Class 2 Creation Master clan. So what if our Luo family doesn't get married to one of the 3 clans?" Roya let out a sigh in response. Luoya was still too young and couldn't think of the crux. Right now, Namu City had 4 Class 2 Creation Master clans and 1 Class 3 Creation Master clan. Right now, the Class 3 Creation Master clan, the Zhang family, was showing signs of wanting to integrate Namu City's Creation Master resources. Not long ago, the Zhang family even released the news that their patriarch had been promoted from a mid-class Class 3 Creation Master to an advanced Class 3 Creation Master. It was obvious that the Zhang family wanted to put pressure on the 4 Class 2 Creation Master clans. Among the 4 Class 2 Creation Master clans, only the Huang family and the Zhang family were related by marriage. The Zhang family's matriarch was the younger sister of the Huang family's patriarch. If Luoya could get married to Huang Yu, the Luo family would be using the Huang family to climb up to the Zhang family. The Luo family's strongest Fei was a Platinum 3/Flawless Poison Dust Moth. However, the Zhang family patriarch had a Platinum X/Fantasy Breed Corrosive Venomous Snake Flood Dragon. The Luo family didn't have the strength to go against the Zhang family. Roya had always doted on Luoya. Roya didn't want to force Luoya on matters of the heart and sacrifice her happiness. Just as Roya was about to persuade Luoya, she picked up the phone on the table again. She said to Roya seriously, "Father, I already have someone I like. Father, I already have someone I like." Upon hearing this, Rode knitted his brows immediately. However, Roya didn't get angry at Luoya and asked patiently, "Little Ya, don't tell me the person you like is a member of the bandits that you invested in previously?" Hearing this, Roha remembered the rough men in the Withered Cliff bandits who never bathed. She nearly retched. Seeing her disgusted expression, Roya knew that Luoya didn't like the members of the Dry Cliff bandits. If it wasn't someone from the Dry Cliff bandits, who else could it be? Could it be that Xiaoya was playing around with some guy and suddenly developed feelings for him? Roya decided to quickly cut off Luoya's thoughts. He wanted to let Luoya think about Huang Yu in peace. "Little Ya is the man you like in Namu City now? If he is, ask him to come home and let me see him." Luoya didn't know what Roya was thinking. But when he mentioned Lin Yuan's whereabouts, Luoya felt aggrieved. "I also want to know where Lin Yuan is." But it had been almost 9 days and the phone still didn't ring. Just as Luoya was in despair, her phone suddenly rang. When Luoya heard the ringtone of her phone, her eyes suddenly lit up, revealing a ray of hope. Luoya turned on her phone excitedly and found that it was indeed Lin Yuan's call. Luoya nervously grabbed the armrest of the recliner and carefully cleared her throat before picking up the phone. As soon as the call was connected, Luoya wanted to be more ladylike and wait for Lin Yuan to speak first. But for some reason Luoya couldn't control herself after picking up the phone and said to Lin Yuan first, "Have you been busy for the past 2 days? I haven't seen you call me. When are you free to come to Namu City? I'll bring you around. There are a few small shops in Namu City that I've eaten in since I was young. They taste really good. Do some research and have a small explosion at the end of the month. I hope everyone can support me." End of this chapter. Chapter 1386. When Lin Yuan heard Luoya's words, he calculated the time and said, "I should be able to reach Namu City in an hour." Upon hearing Lin Yuan's words, Luoya stood up from the recliner excitedly. "Then I will pick you up at the gate of Namu City." Luoya's voice couldn't help but pause awkwardly. It would take at least 1.5 hours to reach the gate of Namu City by riding the Mist Anti-Poison Moth. However, Lin Yuan would reach Namu City in an hour. She couldn't let Lin Yuan wait for her at the gate of Namu City. Thus Luoya changed the topic. "How about this? I will wait for you at the largest Namu Square in Namu City. It happens to be closer to my home. I have prepared 2 walnut trees for you. If it isn't enough, I can go home and get more for you." After Luoya finished talking with Lin Yuan, she hung up the phone. Luoya noticed that her father, Road, was looking at her with a complicated expression. Road's heart was in a dilemma. Road had never seen Luoya so concerned about someone before. Road noticed that Luoya's eyes were shining when she was on the phone. The light in her eyes couldn't lie. Luoya was so concerned about her sweetheart, so how could she be willing to contact Huang Yu? For a moment, Road felt that things were a little difficult. Although he could secretly kill the person Luoya liked. But if he really killed this person, Luoya was likely to think that he was the one who secretly killed him. Moreover, the walnut trees had always been a precious resource of his family. The 20 or so walnut trees at home were all precious treasures. Just the walnuts that were produced every year could be sold for a lot of money. When Luoya asked him for the walnut trees, Road was a little relieved. He thought that Luoya wanted to practice cultivating high-quality walnuts. Now it seemed that he was thinking too much. Luoya wanted to give the walnut trees as a gift to the person she liked. It was said that daughters would always help outsiders, and now Road finally understood. Road stood up and said sternly to Roya upon seeing that she was about to rush out of the door. "Wait, don't be in a hurry. It's reasonable for your little boyfriend to do that. I should meet him too. I will go to Namu Square with you." When Luoya heard Road say that she was going to see her boyfriend, her face immediately showed a sad look. Boyfriend? In Lin Yuan's eyes, he might just be a passerby who knew him. Coincidentally, Lin Yuan had to go to Namu City to handle some matters. Due to the previous agreement, he had to give her a call. However, Luoya didn't object to Road accompanying her to meet Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan's excellence could be seen at a glance. When he saw Lin Yuan, no matter what, his father would not force him to come into contact with Huang Yu again. This time, Road wanted to go with Luoya because he wanted to intimidate her boyfriend. He wanted to let Luoya's boyfriend know how big the gap between him and Luoya was. Young man, don't always be a toad lusting after a swan. It wasn't that easy to be the son-in-law of a Class 2 Creation Master clan. Therefore he summoned his main fae, the Platinum 3/Flawless Poison Dust Moth. As for why Road summoned the Poison Dust Moths, Roha was puzzled. She didn't know why her father was so serious. He had even summoned his strongest fae, the Poison Dust Moth. However, Luoya was very happy with Road's behavior. If she rode the Platinum Poison Dust Moth to fetch Lin Yuan, at least she wouldn't look too shabby in front of Lin Yuan and Lu's face. Luoya hugged Road happily and said, "Thank you, father." "Thank you, father." Road and Luoya were both calculating in their hearts. On the surface, Road and Luoya were on the back of the Poison Dust Moth and headed for the Namu Plaza. In Namu City, Road and Luoya were famous people. Namu City wasn't a big city in the Divine Wood Federation. It was just a city built with a Class 3 Creation Master clan as the core. Apart from the Class 3 Creation Master Zhang clan, Road was the head of a Class 2 Creation Master clan. It could be said that he was one of the most respected people in Namu City. On the back of the Platinum Poison Dust Moth, Road and Luoya received the respect of the spirit chi professionals and ordinary people along the way. At that moment, Luoya was holding a mirror and carefully examining her haggard face because she hadn't eaten or rested well for 9 days. The more she looked at her haggard appearance in the mirror, the more uneasy she felt. She was afraid that her haggard appearance would lower Lin Yuan's favorable impression of her. At that moment, Luoya couldn't be bothered that her father, Road, was beside her. She took out her most precious cosmetic powder from her walnut. She wiped it on her face. This cosmetic powder was a mixture of crushed amber, water-type pearl powder, wanyan flower juice, lotus heart dew and gold fei oil. In terms of the production process, only Class 3 Creation Masters were able to use it. In a place like Namu City, this was the highest grade of cosmetic powder. The Zhang family's auction would only auction a bottle of this grade of cosmetic powder every month. Once it was auctioned, it would be desperately fought over by the various matriarchs and young ladies in Namu City. In order to obtain this cosmetic powder, Luoya had spent a considerable amount of deep Sanskrit dollars. Now that she thought about the expenditure of deep Sanskrit dollars, she still felt a little heartache. But now, this cosmetic powder came in handy, allowing Luoya to meet Lin Yuan with her best appearance. Luoya felt that the previous expenditure was simply worth it. Luoya applied the cosmetic powder, drew on her eyebrows and tidied up her purple fur coat. Road, who was watching from the side, was dumbfounded. Road had always been very concerned about his only daughter, Luoya. Before Luoya had left Namu City to train a few years ago, Luoya had always been by Road's side. In Road's impression, when his family held a gathering, the Zhang family's bigwigs would be present. Luoya had never dressed up so meticulously. As a father, he had to make some choices for the family. In the end, he couldn't help but feel sorry for his daughter. Rode couldn't help but hesitate in his heart. He was going to meet Luoya's sweetheart in a while. Should he secretly send someone to make a move on Luoya's sweetheart? Just as Luoya was done with her makeup and was looking at her rather delicate and pretty face in the mirror with satisfaction, a very loud but somewhat cocky voice came from behind Luoya. "Aya, Uncle Luo, where are you going?" "I saw Uncle Luo's poison dust moths from afar. I desperately consumed spirit chi so that my stinger wasps could catch up." Hearing the voice coming from behind, Luoya frowned. However, his furrowed brows smoothed out in an instant. Rode immediately ordered the poison dust moths to stop in midair and no longer advance. ABC. Chapter 1387. Then Rode patted Luoya's shoulder and she reluctantly turned around with Rode. Luoya saw a yellow-clothed youth standing on the back of a huge brown wasp. This youth wasn't ugly, but he had big and small eyes. One big and one small eyes made the yellow-clothed youth's eyes look wretched and lifeless. In terms of figure, the yellow-clothed youth wasn't bad. He was tall and strong. It was a pity that Luoya was obsessed with appearances. To Luoya, an ugly face was an original sin. Luoya's heart was filled with Lin Yuan and couldn't even be bothered to look at Huang Yu. At that moment, Huang Yu was smiling and wanted to greet Luoya. However, she didn't know that Luoya was already gritting her teeth and blaming herself for wasting the time to go to the Nanmu Plaza. Seeing that Luoya didn't want to talk to Huang Yu at all, Rode couldn't help but feel a little awkward. Rode asked Huang Yu, "Little Yu is getting stronger. Little Yu is getting stronger and stronger. I haven't seen you for more than 2 months and your main Fei, the Stinger Wasp, has been upgraded to Gold X/Flawless." While speaking, Rode was very surprised by the increase in strength of Huang Yu's main Fei, the Needle Wasp. Huang Yu's strength increased so quickly. The Huang family had really invested a lot in Huang Yu. When Huang Yu's creation master strength reached class 2, she could take over the Huang family head's position at any time. Huang Yu had always been in love with Luoya, but Luoya had never been interested in Huang Yu. Rode was really afraid that Huang Yu would be tired of Luoya's attitude. Hence, she chose to marry the young ladies of the Meng and Li families. When Huang Yu heard Rode's praise, she said rather proudly, "This is all thanks to Aunt. This is all thanks to Aunt. She asked Uncle to help me raise the rank and quality of the Stinger Wasps. If it wasn't for Uncle's process of enhancing the Needle Wasp, the Needle Wasp's bloodline showed signs of mutation. The Needle Wasp that Uncle Luo is seeing now should be at Platinum." Upon hearing Huang Yu's words, Rode's heart shook. It turned out that the Zhang family head had helped Huang Yu enhance her Fei. Huang Yu's aunt married into the Zhang family and was the Zhang family's matriarch. Only Huang Yu's aunt would be able to persuade the Zhang family head to help a junior raise the strength of a Fei. This was the benefit of a marriage alliance. If Luoya and Huang Yu got married, the Luo family could use Huang Yu's relationship to become the Zhang family's distant in-laws. Out of respect for Huang Yu, the Luo family might be able to receive the Zhang family's favor. She watched as her father and Huang Yu chatted for almost 10 minutes without any intention of leaving. Luoya's heart became more and more frenzied. Luoya, who couldn't bear it anymore, said to Huang Yu, "Huang Yu, we need to go to Nanmu Plaza. It's urgent, so we'll be leaving first." With that said, Roha reached out and hooked her arm around his. He signaled Rode to let the poison dust moths fly towards the Nanmu Square. Huang Yu was already used to Luoya's attitude towards him. On the contrary, Huang Yu's eyes lit up when he heard that Luoya wanted to go to Nanmu Square. Uncle Luo, are you going to Nanmu Square? Then we're on the way. I'm also going to Nanmu Square. Brother Zhang Tong will be welcoming Lord Jianli at the Nanmu Plaza today. I didn't know that Aya was back. If I had known, I would have invited Aya in advance." After hearing Huang Yu's words, Luoya and Rode's expressions changed drastically. Rode didn't expect Jianli to visit Nanmu City, a small city at the border. Zhang Tong, the eldest young master of the Class 3 Creation Master clan, actually had the capability to establish a relationship with Lord Jianli. Lord Jianli was a well-known figure among the Divine Wood Federation's younger generation. He was ranked 83rd in the Divine Wood 100 sequence. Compared to Jianli's glory and talent, Rode was more concerned about Jianli's background. The Jian family was a veteran clan in the Divine Wood Federation's capital, Holy Forest City. Rode didn't know if the Jian family had a Class 4 Creation Master. However, the Jian family had 5 Class 3 Creation Master clans under their control. One of the Class 3 Creation Master clans even had a pinnacle Class 3 Creation Master. As the patriarch of a Class 2 Creation Master clan, Luoya had never heard of Jian Li's visit to Namu City. However, because of the Zhang family, Huang Yu was qualified to meet Lord Jian Li at Namu City's plaza. From this incident, it was enough to show that the Luo family was excluded from Namu City's core circle. After thinking about this, Rode made a decision. He had to matchmake Luoya and Huang Yu's marriage. At that moment, Luoya was feeling apprehensive. Just like the Radiance Federation, the Divine Wood 100 sequence members were also well-known stars in the Divine Wood Federation. In the eyes of the Divine Wood Federation's spirit chi professionals, every Divine Wood 100 sequence member was like an unreachable star. They were all on the dome and unreachable stars. Any member of the Divine Wood 100 sequence had supreme privileges and authority in the Divine Wood Federation. Since Huang Yu was going over now, it meant that Jian Li would arrive at Namu City's plaza within an hour. This was almost overlapping with the time when Lin Yuan arrived at Namu City's plaza. Lin Yuan wouldn't bump into Jian Li, right? Every member of the Divine Wood 100 sequence would be protected by an expert arranged by the Divine Wood Imperial Court. Although Jian Li wasn't a member at the top of the Divine Wood 100 sequence, he was famous for being overbearing. With Jian Li's status, it was impossible for him to allow others to arrive at the same place as him on an aerial fei. The place that she had just agreed with Lin Yuan was Namu City's plaza. Wouldn't that mean that she had harmed Lin Yuan? At that thought, Luoya hurriedly took out her cell phone and anxiously dialed Lin Yuan's number. However, after the phone rang for a long time, Luoya realized that Lin Yuan hadn't picked up the phone. After dialing several times, the result was the same. Luoya was so anxious that her forehead couldn't help but sweat. Luoya could be sure that Lin Yuan's identity wasn't trivial and was likely to be a member of the Deep Enlightenment Federation's hidden aristocratic family. However, if Lin Yuan really had a conflict with Jian Li, it would be in the Divine Wood Federation's territory. Lin Yuan, who was born in the Deep Enlightenment Federation, couldn't have an advantage. Huang Yu saw that Luoya kept dialing and wanted to go forward to ask who she was calling. However, she was afraid that going forward to ask would anger Luoya and become an outlet for her emotions. At that moment, Rode, who was standing next to Luoya, had a strange smile on his face. If Luoya could think of this, Rode could naturally think of it too. Rode couldn't wait for Luoya to be unable to contact her sweetheart. At that time, her sweetheart of unknown origin would be blasted to pieces by Jian Li the moment she arrived at the periphery of Namu City Square. With her sweetheart dead, Luoya would have no worries. With his understanding and reasoning, the disheartened Luoya would agree to be engaged to Huang Yu for the family's benefit. Huang Yu didn't treat Luoya badly. After getting married, Luoya would be the Huang family's young mistress and wouldn't suffer much. Luoya was tirelessly dialing Lin Yuan's number over and over again, but she didn't know that Lin Yuan had already put this rarely used cell phone into the diamond face storage box after the call. ABC. Chapter 1388. Soon Huang Yu, Luoya, and Rode arrived at the Namu Plaza. Seeing the nearby Namu Plaza, Huang Yu quickly said to Rode, "Uncle Luo, flying feis are prohibited in front. Why don't we park our flying feis outside the plaza and walk in? If we fly any further, even I will be attacked by my cousin's guards." After hearing Huang Yu's words, Rode quickly stopped the flying poison dust moths and ordered them to land outside the Namu Plaza. When Rode heard Huang Yu's words, he quickly stopped the poison dust moths and ordered them to land in the outer area of the Namu Plaza. Then he recalled the poison dust moths into his spiritual spatial zone. Huang Yu had always liked Luoya, so she respected Rode very much. After Rode recalled the poison dust moths, Huang Yu eagerly led Rode and Luoya into the Namu Plaza. The Namu Plaza was usually the most lively place in Namu City, but it was currently surrounded by a large number of armored guards. It was heavily guarded. The plaza was no longer filled with vendors and spirit chi professionals who were strolling around. Along the way, Huang Yu had been greeting these guards and they all recognized her. On account of Huang Yu, these guards didn't take the initiative to stop Luoya and Rode. They allowed Huang Yu to bring them in. Rode's expression didn't look good when he saw the guards' behavior. From the guards' eyes, Rode could feel that they respected Huang Yu more than he did. After passing through layers of guards, Rode saw a tall man in a green fur coat standing in the middle of the square. This person was Zhang Tong. Zhang Tong was surrounded by the Zhang family's trusted subordinates. There weren't any people from the other Class 2 Creation Master clans, the Meng family and the Li family. This discovery put Rhodes' heart at ease. It seemed like the Luo family wasn't the only one excluded from Nanmu City's core circle. The other two Creation Master clans, the Meng family and the Li family, couldn't escape the fate of being excluded by the Zhang family either. When Huang Yu saw Zhang Tong, she quickly walked over and shouted, "Big brother Zhang Tong, I thought I was already quite early when I arrived 15 minutes earlier. I didn't expect you to arrive before me." Zhang Tong turned to look at Huang Yu and saw Rode and Luo Ye behind her. Zhang Tong turned to look at Huang Yu and saw Rode and Luo Ye not far behind her. Zhang Tong furrowed his brows slightly. Nanmu City was only so big, and as Huang Yu's cousin, Zhang Tong naturally knew that Huang Yu liked Luo Ye. Thus, Zhang Tong didn't say anything. Early that morning, Zhang Tong had already arrived at the Nanmu Plaza to make preparations. Although the Zhang clan was the local tyrant of Nanmu City, the size and resources of Nanmu City made it impossible for the Zhang clan to develop further. If he wanted the Zhang family to develop further, he needed to find a breakthrough or a backer. This backer was Jian Li, who was about to arrive. He was from the Jian family. The Zhang family intended to make use of the Jian family's resources and connections in Shenmu's capital city, Shenglin City. The Jian family was also happy to control another Class 3 Creation Master clan in the border region. Moreover, Jian Li and Zhang Tong had a personal relationship, so Jian Li was willing to waste time on this trip. Huang Yu hurriedly explained when she saw the displeased look on Zhang Tong's face. "Brother Zhang Tong, Aya and Uncle Luo will follow behind me. I'll tell them not to cause any trouble. Well, I also want to bring Aya along to broaden her horizons." Upon hearing Huang Yu's words, Zhang Tong immediately knew what Huang Yu was planning. In the Divine Wood Federation, there wasn't a single woman from an aristocratic family who didn't desire wealth and clung to the rich and powerful. Huang Yu wanted to show off her connections in front of Luo Ye and use this to win her heart. As for Luo Ye, Zhang Tong didn't fancy her at all. Previously, the Zhang family had intended to choose a wife for Zhang Tong in Nanmu City. However, all the aristocratic women in Nanmu City were placed in front of Zhang Tong, and none of them caught his eye. Zhang Tong had been to Shenglin City to compete for the Divine Wood 100 and failed, so he wanted to find a young lady from an aristocratic family. Zhang Tong knew that only a young lady from an aristocratic family in Shenglin City could help him in the future. Although Zhang Tong wasn't interested in any of the young ladies from the aristocratic families in Nanmu City, he knew all the information about the young ladies from the aristocratic families in Nanmu City. There was a detailed introduction of what Luo Ye had been doing outside for the past few years. These detailed introductions made Zhang Tong worry whether his cousin's neck was tough enough and whether he could take on so many hats. No matter what, Zhang Tong didn't mind helping his cousin out. Luo Ye was so anxious that she almost cried when no one picked up Lin Yuan's call. When she saw Huang Yu explaining the rules in front of her father, Luo Ye had the thought of creating a ruckus in Nanmu Plaza and causing a commotion so that Lin Yuan could escape from danger. However, Luo Ye couldn't realize this thought. Luo Ye's strongest fei was the gold mist anti-poison moth. As long as Luo Ye dared to summon her fei, Rode would stop her immediately without anyone making a move. Just as Luo Ye was getting more and more anxious and didn't know what to do, a sharp and ear-piercing bird cry echoed in the sky, and a black giant bird with a wingspan of 10 meters appeared in the sky. The giant bird's wings stirred up chaotic air currents and gathered into a 30-meter-tall tornado above Nanmu Plaza. The tornado created by the giant bird made the armors of the guards present clatter. On the back of the giant ink-colored bird stood a skinny and somewhat short young man. This youth was wearing a white fur robe, and the wind was blowing at the corner of the fur robe. The fur robe fluttered behind the short youth's back. Such a grade of white fur robe was rarely seen in Nanmu City. Compared to this youth's white fur robe, Zhang Tong's green fur robe was much cheaper. Behind this white-robed youth stood two sturdy men wearing black rattan armor. The ink-colored rattan armor that the two muscular men wore had some dark green leaves growing on it. They looked like living creatures. These black-armored men were the firm wood guards that the Divine Wood Imperial Court had sent to guard the Divine Wood 100 sequence members. Jian Li looked down disdainfully from the bird's back. After seeing Zhang Tong, Jian Li was ready to let the Platinum X/Legend Blade Feather Eagle bird land. Before Jian Li's Blade Feather Eagle bird could land on the ground, the two sturdy wood guards on its back had already leaped down from the Blade Feather Eagle bird's back. They surrounded Jian Li, who was about to get off the Blade Feather Eagle bird, in the middle. When the Blade Feathered Eagle sparrow came to a stop and the tornado created by its wings disappeared, Jianli shook the white fur coat he was wearing. He calmly stepped on the neck of the blade feather eagle bird, which was pressed against the ground, and walked down from its back. When Zhang Tong saw Jianli get off the blade feather eagle bird, he quickly took 2 steps forward and said enthusiastically, "Lord Jianli, your flying type Fei is really extraordinary. Lord Jianli, your flying type Fei is really extraordinary. A casual flap of its wings can create a whirlwind that can uproot a gold ironwood poplar." ABC. Chapter 1389. The short Jianli patted the blade feather eagle sparrow's beak and said, "This blade feather eagle sparrow is just a flying Fei that I randomly chose from the bird stable at home. It isn't that rare. As for your Zhang family's platinum/fantasy breed corrosive serpent flood dragon, it should be very enjoyable to ride on. Your Zhang family's platinum/fantasy breed rotten venomous snake flood dragon should be very enjoyable to ride." The corrosive serpent flood dragon was Zhang Tong's father and represented the Zhang family's strongest combat power. Even if the Zhang family wanted to rely on the Jian family, the corrosive serpent flood dragon could never be taken out for Jianli to ride on for fun. Otherwise, the Zhang family would lose all its prestige in Nanmu City and become a joke that the citizens discussed behind closed doors. Otherwise, the Zhang family's prestige in Nanmu City would be completely lost and they would become a joke that the citizens discussed behind closed doors. When Luoya saw Jianli, the last bit of hope in her heart was shattered. If he had arrived first, perhaps there would still be a chance to turn things around. However, Jianli had arrived first, and the situation was no longer within Zhang Tong's control. Now that Jianli had arrived first, the situation was no longer within Zhang Tong's control. Everything that happened next would be up to Jianli. At that moment, Luoya, who was filled with worry and self-blame, felt Rhodes' elbow hit her arm hard. The intense pain brought Luoya back to her senses. Luoya, who came back to her senses, found that Jianli was staring at her. Luoya immediately cursed inwardly. At that moment, Jianli said in a playful tone, "What's wrong? You're dressed up so beautifully, but you're crying because you don't welcome my arrival? Or are you disappointed because you've only heard rumors about me before and realized that I'm not tall?" Jianli's voice became softer in the second half of his sentence. However, Jianli's words made Zhang Tong break out in a cold sweat. Zhang Tong knew that Jianli hated it the most when others mocked his height. It was obvious that Luoya's crying expression had caused Jianli to misunderstand. Zhang Tong didn't know if Luoya was disappointed by Jianli's height. However, Luoya's crying expression when welcoming Jianli was an original sin in itself. The Nanmu City Plaza was heavily guarded, and outsiders weren't allowed to enter. The Luo family insisted on entering with Huang Yu and incurred Jianli's wrath. Such behavior was simply slapping himself in the face. Luoya was merely a member of a Class 2 Creation Master clan. Did she really think that she was a young lady from one of those influential clans in the capital city's Holy Forest City? With Luoya's identity, she should be careful even when breathing in front of Jianli. Was she worthy of Jianli and marrying into the Jian family? Even Zhang Tong started to have an opinion about Huang Yu, who had attracted Luoya here. Luoya, who was worried about Lin Yuan, was shocked by Jianli. He was so scared that he couldn't speak. Luo De, who was next to Luoya, was also panicking, but he saw that Luoya was in a daze and didn't come forward to talk to Jianli. Rode mustered his courage and said to Jianli in a trembling voice, "Lord Jianli, how could my daughter be disappointed in you? My daughter is crying because the 100-man team that I managed previously encountered a dimensional rift at the border and was annihilated. Only I managed to escape. Because of this, my daughter has been grief-stricken. I didn't expect that she would lose her composure in front of Lord Jianli. Lord Jianli, you are charming and charming. My daughter only dares to look up to you. How would she dare to have any other thoughts?" When Rode had first spoken, Zhang Tong had thought that this matter might be over. If the bandit team that Luoya had joined had been annihilated, Jianli wouldn't be so overbearing and make things difficult for a woman from a Class 2 Creation Master family. When the time came, he would get someone to bring Luoya and Rode down, and the matter would be resolved. But when Rode said, "I only dare to look up to you," Zhang Tong's expression changed. This sentence had violated Jianli's taboo. Zhang Tong had personally witnessed Jianli trying to curry favor with someone who was taller than him. That person had been executed because he had said the words "look up to Jianli." Zhang Tong saw that Huang Yu's expression changed and had the intention to speak up for Luoya. Zhang Tong coughed and looked at Huang Yu with sharp eyes. Huang Yu was worried about Luo Ye's situation and felt embarrassed that Luo Ye had disrupted Zhang Tong's plan. When she saw Zhang Tong's expression, Huang Yu was so frightened that she didn't dare to say anything. Jian Li's expression had originally been playful. Now that he heard Rote's words, Jian Li's expression turned completely gloomy. Zhang Tong came to Jian Li's side and said apologetically, "Lord Jian Li, they are the Luo family's family head and young lady. If Lord Jian Li doesn't want to dirty your hands because of them, I'm willing to help you deal with them immediately. If Lord Jian Li does not wish to dirty his hands because of them, I am willing to help Lord Jian Li deal with them immediately." After speaking, Zhang Tong whistled with a strange rhythm and a very high pitch toward the northwest of the plaza. The whistle sounded a little like a snake's hissing. As soon as Zhang Tong blew the whistle, a mighty neigh rang out from the northwest. This snake-like hissing had a hint of prestige that belonged to a WRM species Fei. A purplish-black, twin-horned Qilin snake that was nearly 25 meters long soared from the distance and flew toward Zhang Tong. While flying, this long snake, which had WRM species characteristics, hissed repeatedly and flicked out its black tongue that was nearly half a meter long. Its dark purple venomous fangs emitted an eerie chill under the sunlight. Before this giant snake, which obviously had a WRM species bloodline, arrived at the Namu Plaza, the air was filled with a fishy smell. This purplish-black giant snake was the Zhang family head's main Fei, the corrosive serpent flood dragon. In order to welcome Jian Li, the Zhang family head had specially released the corrosive serpent flood dragon. He had also made the corrosive serpent flood dragon listen to Zhang Tong's orders. Accompanied by the Platinum X/Fantasy Eye corrosive serpent flood dragon's hissing, the blade feather eagle bird's aura suddenly weakened, and it flapped its wings restlessly. It was obviously very afraid of the corrosive serpent flood dragon. Although the blade feather eagle bird and the corrosive serpent flood dragon were both pinnacle platinum Feis, one was a fantasy breed, while the other wasn't an ordinary Fei. However, one was a fantasy breed, while the other wasn't a normal Fei. If they were to compare, it would be equivalent to a major grade difference. Fortunately, the blade feather eagle bird was controlled by 2 ironwood guards. Coupled with the creation master's taming, the blade feather eagle bird didn't go berserk and hurt people or flee in panic. Zhang Tong's words made Rode feel despair and caused Huang Yu's expression to change. The corrosive serpent flood dragon was entrenched in the Namu Plaza and was ready to start a massacre at any time. It kept flicking out its black tongue, indicating that the corrosive serpent flood dragon was in a hungry state. Finally, Huang Yu looked at Luo Ye and recalled her father's teachings at home. She had no choice but to lower her head. The Huang family was also a Class 2 creation master aristocratic family. If it wasn't for her aunt, she wouldn't be qualified to welcome Jian Li here. It wouldn't be of any use if she pleaded for Luo Ye now. She might even offend Lord Jian Li and implicate the entire Huang family. ABC that you're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.